What's going on, people? Welcome to Hockey Happy Hour, man. We got Maddie, we got Brad.
Yes,
Brian might join us later in the show. We'll see what's going on. Maddie, lead us in, brother.
All right. Here we are live on a2dradio.com. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. It's time to talk some puck. Here we go, boys.
Oh my God! I'm embarrassed! You're flying!
Oh, come in. It's almost time.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hockey Happy Hour, a2dradio.com. I am Madison City, along with the broken one himself, Rob Povia.
Yo, boys, I just got an invite to play QB for the AFC and the Pro Bowl. Should I go?
Oh, yeah. You got the arm strength. Go for it.
Absolutely. Did they pay you up? Yeah. Well, most importantly, did they pay you up front? Because they paid you up front. Oh, nice, good. Yeah. We have Mr. Broadway, Mr. Blue Shirt, Brad Ryer. And, of course, the Darkwing Brian Daly, not here with us right now, but that is okay because he is here in spirit and that. So for all the regulars and for all of the newcomers to the thing, you'll see Mr. Daly somewhere there. But tonight, here live on the show, Ryan and Brad, we are going to be talking about basically this first half of the season down the Flyers All-Star break situation. Unfortunately, the tragic passing of Paul and the Bo Horvat trade Islanders, which happened literally just yesterday. So it's been an interesting 48 hours for the NHL, and sadly, not all of it has been very good 48 hours for the NHL. But here on the show, we're going to try and push through that. And we, of course, will start with our sponsor, none other than the doc himself, Dr. Paul Vidal, over at Specialist Physical Therapy. If you got any aches and pains that are really nagging at you, night and see the doc and give him a ring, or go online at specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Then go to either Cherry Hill or Burlington, New Jersey, and let the professionals take care of you so you don't have any of those aches and pains anymore, because life's tough enough as it is. The last thing you need is to have your shoulder, your back, or your leg. So go to the doc. Make sure that's all taken care of. All right, then. And the poll question brought to BOAGGIO'S bread. For anyone out there who's got a celebration coming up, whether it's a birthday or whether maybe when February, close to that, we are literally just a day away from February, a few hours actually. And that's the month of love, as they say. Maybe you got something special planned, romantic evening for the significant other in you. Go contact BOAGGIO'S Bread in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pie, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention A2D and you get 10% off of your in-store purchase. So you don't have to really do much except pay, and there you go. Everything's taken care of for you. It's easy when you cut corners like that, right? All right, then. And the poll question. The Flyers have exceeded expectations at the All-Star break. Do you, or do you feel as though that this woefully underperformed?
I absolutely agree to this poll. I mean, we thought this team would be dead last in the Metro and one of the worst teams in the league, right? I mean, but it's more than the 500 record. It's how they're playing the game, boys. It's the hunger. It's the compete level. It's all there. 180% difference, 180-degree difference, excuse me, from last season. I did not expect the culture to change this soon, and that is what has really exceeded my expectations. And the credit should go to Torts.
Yeah. I mean, Torts has definitely had an impact on this team with the fact that he is taking what was a young roster, didn't necessarily believe in itself, had a lot of low morale, and kind of gave him a bit of an attitude and said, you know what, take that attitude out on the ice with you. And yeah, it's had results that have been somewhat surprising for the Flyers. Brad, how do you feel? Do you agree or disagree with the expectations and the Flyers, whether they met them or they didn't?
I thought they met them and exceeded them quite a bit. Listen, they've been a little up and down this year, but as I said at the beginning of the season, Tortorella is going to make a big difference for this team. Tortorella is one of those guys. Yeah, he's got an expiration date, just like most coaches. But when he's here, he's going to teach these guys how to play the game the right way. And if they don't play the game the right way, they're not going to play. And and you guys should be very proud of the way he's gotten this team to compete and play hard every night. I mean, there's some games that they just don't have the talent to compete with some of the top teams, and that's just a fact. I mean, they're teams like the Bruins, the Maple Leafs. They're going to have trouble with teams like that. It is what it is. But you know what? If you go out there and you don't work and play hard against this team, they're going to not only beat you, but they're going to humiliate you. So you better go out there with your compete level and play, because otherwise, you're going to get embarrassed. Kind of like what happened with Winnipeg the other night. Winnipeg was not playing any defense.
Right.
They weren't coming back to protect Hellebuck. And you know what? They gave up 4 goals because all they wanted to do was score.
And
yeah,
they got smoked.
they got 40 shots on goal. Congratulations. None of them went in. Okay, and the Flyers put 4 on you because you know what? You didn't bother to back check, and you didn't bother to play defense. So, and you know what? The Flyers never stopped grinding and grinded it out, and that was a big win for them. That's an impressive win because Winnipeg has been a very, very good team, and that score surprised me. No, excuse me, that score shocked me because the Jets have been everything anybody could ask for, especially at home this year. And to go into that stadium, okay, in front of that crowd and be able to not only shut them out but beat them convincingly, that's impressive. And they've had a few of those kind of games. The game early against Tampa Bay, I mean that was impressive. They, when they destroyed St. Louis that one night, they've really, you guys should be proud of them. Considering the talent level that's there and all the kids that are playing right now, they've gotten the job done.
Yeah, you're right, Brad. I mean, especially going into the bye week.
Yeah, I mean, what more can you ask for right now? I mean, they don't have Cam Atkinson. Okay, I mean, and that's huge. He's a big part of the offense. This is a team that's a little offensively challenged to begin with. You don't have arguably perhaps your most explosive, dynamic player playing on your front line right now. And all these guys. Look, Konechny is become a stud, especially on the power play. And Kevin Hayes needed a kick in the ass. Let's be honest, okay? Kevin Hayes has a ton of ability. And I said this when he was on the Rangers. That guy should be scoring 70, 80 points with his size and his shot, and he's not as slow as everybody thinks he is. He doesn't play hard enough sometimes. And Tortorella called him out for it. Tortorella knows what kind of a player he is, and that's why he got called out. And good for Hayes for playing so well since that happened. I mean, he came back. He's come back with a vengeance, and as I said, you guys should be proud of this team. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They didn't let Ryan Reeves push them around. They certainly didn't let Minnesota, who is really the goon squad of the NHL, as far as I'm concerned, push them around. They went in and stood up and fought everybody who wanted to fight them, and good for them. I mean, they went
So I do believe as well
toe to toe with them.
Yeah, and I do believe that the victory over Winnipeg actually kind of ditched them in the spot. So Dallas wound up getting the number 1 overall position. As of current right now, when I check the standings, Dallas is sitting at number 1 in the Central right now, and Winnipeg's sitting at 2. So that's a tough loss for Winnipeg to swallow, because now they're going to have to look at their first half and say, ooh, yeah, we got a lot of work to do because Dallas just pushed us down into second place. So this is going to be a rough question tonight but I figured you get the tough question out of the way, and then we can roll into the easier stuff moving forward, even though we do have the Bobby Hull stuff, which is Ted, specifically talking to Mr. Broadway here. Brad, what do you think about the Rangers not wearing their pride jerseys on the Rangers LGBTQ plus night?
Couldn't care less. Okay, if the Rangers don't want to wear their jerseys, don't wear your jerseys. They're celebrating. I mean, they had all the big wigs out. I mean, they had all the leaders of the community out on the ice. They were out there and they were shaking hands with everybody. Leave them alone. If they don't want to wear those jerseys, they don't have to wear those jerseys. I mean, I think it's kind of. I hate to say this, but you know what? When's heterosexual night?
I get your point.
Come on, are we going to wear special jerseys for heterosexual night? I mean, I'm sorry, but you know what? I was with Provorov when he did it. Don't force these guys to wear that kind of stuff if they don't want to. If they're not comfortable wearing it, leave them alone. They're professional athletes. This isn't politics. This is hockey. This is sports. Leave politics out of sports.
I do agree. I do agree with that notion. But if you are going to embrace it, you got to embrace it. I mean, you talk about a population that, you do make a valid point, and I get it, right? But that community's been through a lot more than I've been through. You know what I mean? So if they want to take an individual night and the club wants to do that, you do it to the full degree, including wearing the jerseys. It's like you're having a stand up to cancer night and you're not going to hold up the sign because you're embarrassed about saying a loved one has cancer. Now that again, that's your prerogative, but does anybody not hold up a sign? They do. So I mean, it's like if you're going to do it to the 100%. Or don't do it at all.
I understand both sides of it, but you know what? Obviously, a lot of players on the Rangers didn't want to wear the jersey. Okay? It wasn't just this time. It wasn't like the Flyers where one guy didn't want to wear it. Obviously, a lot of those guys didn't want to do it. So you know what? Instead of having certain guys look bad by not wearing it, they just made a decision not to do it. And you know what? If that's what they want to do, it's their right to do that. I mean, they're not making fun of anybody. They're not taking a knee or doing anything ridiculous like that. They don't want to wear the jerseys. They don't have to wear the jerseys. It's not like they didn't come out and greet those guys and be super nice to them. They did. I mean, and they embraced it. They just didn't want to wear the jerseys, and that's up to them.
Right.
The only thing I would say though that bothers me a little bit is that they, from what I understand, they're supposedly they wear the jerseys to warm up and then they sign them and then they go for an auction. Right. Is that true?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, they can all sign their jerseys. They just didn't wear them during warm-ups.
Yeah, they can still sign them and auction them off, certainly. And they did it as a team. So I mean, I get that solidarity better than just having the lone player Provorov choosing not to wear it. That shows a little bit of division, but.
I mean, they hung him out to dry by that happening. This way, if you want to get mad at the Rangers for doing it, fine, get mad at the Rangers. The Rangers don't have to do that. Okay, no. The team, the players were out there. They couldn't have been more gracious hosts to the gay community guys who were and women who were on the ice. leading the parade and everything. They couldn't have been more gracious. They just didn't want to wear the jerseys. That's their right to do that. They felt uncomfortable. Some guys
So
don't like it, and they didn't want to embarrass any one individual by going out there and having one or two individuals not wear it. They said, okay. And they moved on from it. Nobody on their team really cared.
So the NHL made their opinion known on the matter, by the way, for Provorov, and so obviously the same thing applies to Rangers as well. The NHL specifically stated that a player has the right to choose what causes they choose to support and what ones they don't want to support. That's basically what the NHL said. So the NHL basically said freedom of speech. Provorov didn't want to wear the jersey; he didn't have to. Rangers, same thing. It is what it is. They chose not to. Done and done. So that's where the NHL stance is on the matter. So on top of that as well, you're welcome to all of you resellers out there who bought a Provorov Pride as well as a Rangers Pride jersey. You now have something that you could sell for thousands of dollars. You're welcome for them having that viewpoint.
By the way, I heard Provorov was the hottest selling jersey at all sales since that happened. There have been more Provorov jerseys sold than any other jerseys, including McDavid. So, apparently,
I
don't know.
If it was,
I don't know.
if it was,
I don't care. I don't care who sleeps with who. I really don't. It doesn't make a difference to me one way or another. If that's what makes people happy, fine. Who cares? They're not bothering me. Okay, so I don't really care. But you know what? You shouldn't be forcing people to into your community that don't want to be part of it. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'll leave it at that.
So in the end, that is the stance of the Rangers and Provorov. And this will. I'm sure this will get brought up again somewhere down the line. We'll see as the season progresses. I'm sure it'll get brought up somewhere else. Moving on, we go to Pete saying, "Evening, fam. What's going on, Pete? Hopefully everything's going well with you." And Ted said, "Oh, the trade deadline. Maybe Chuck Fletcher will get picks on these guys while they're available." Well, we'll see. Really made yet. We're still waiting for JVR to be shipped anywhere at this point.
He could be a Ranger, guys.
He's the more likely candidate to go.
Could be a Ranger.
Maybe.
Could be a Ranger.
It's not the first time the Flyers have traded with the Rangers.
I've heard he's like their third or fourth choice right now. If they can't get exactly who they want. I mean, it's sure a long way down when you go from Timo Meier and Patrick Kane to him, but I don't think Van Riemsdyk would be hurt by playing with Mikko Zibanejad and Chris Kreider, or if he's playing with Artemi Panarin and Vincent Trocheck, or any combination of those, because the Rangers have been mixing that stuff up.
Yeah. Well, again, it'll be one of those things where is it going to be worth making the deal or is it not going to be worth making the deal? We'll see what Fletcher deems worthy and what's not worthy. So far, he hasn't seen anything worth pulling the trigger on. Not to say that there hasn't been activity. We'll definitely talk about the activity that we've trade deadline so far. The teams that have been active have been teams that are not necessarily in it, to say the least. Vancouver and San Jose in particular.
Let me ask you a question, because this has a lot to do with the Islanders too. Okay? But if the Flyers were to, let's say, make a trade to acquire a star, okay, and they don't really have to pay that much for him this season, and next season they're going to have plenty of cap space, would it be such a bad thing for them to make a trade and bring in somebody really, really good who they can afford to sign in the summer, but will have the first shot at him, and then maybe sign into an extension?
I mean, it depends on, is that person, roster, obviously, but also not only that, too, what's their age and, what kind of salary do they want, because if it wasn't for the cap, I really wouldn't be hesitant on any of that. I wouldn't even care how old they were. It's like, okay, you got the value to come in. Okay, we don't have a salary cap, so yeah, we'll sign you to an 8-year extension for how much? Okay, I don't care. Flyers are one of the wealthier teams in the league, so yeah, sure, take it. I mean, even if you only give me 6 goals a season, I don't give a shit. It doesn't really bother me.
That's a little bit. That's a
little excessive. All right, I'll give you that. A little excessive.
My example though is like Timo Meier. Okay. Timo Meier is a really, really good player. I mean, if San Jose really wants to get rid of him that badly, would it be such a bad thing for the Flyers to go out and bring him in? I mean, they can put him on. They have a qualifying offer that they'd have to pay $10 million for him next season, and you know what? You could give him a season and a half to how do you call it? What would you call it? Audition to see how he fits in. And and if he fits in, he could be the face of your franchise. And he's young; he's only 25 years old. I mean, you have to talk to him. And see if he wants to play, to see if this is something he'd want to do. I mean, the Flyers are one of those cities. Philadelphia is one of those cities. Some guys really want to play there. Some guys don't. Some guys couldn't handle it. I think he could.
I think he could too.
I'm just throwing it out there, guys. Yeah, I don't know if he would do that. It would be a gutty move to say the least, right?
You'd really have to bank that they're going to lift the cap level this offseason, which looks like that should happen, but we don't know yet.
Well, I've heard they're going to lift it at least $3 million.
Right, that would help.
Yeah, no, that's what
that would help. Yes,
right now.
That.
So I mean,
yeah, that would definitely.
Well, I don't know what they're waiting for. I mean, this was supposed to be done before the pandemic hit, and they're certainly well out of it, making money again. You know what I mean? Like stadiums packed. Let's go.
Yeah, no, the NHL is killing it right now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of excitement going on because of the kid Connor Bedard, who has who has like 100 points in 20 games. I'm exaggerating, of course, but you know what I mean. But I'm just wondering. I mean, the Islanders kind of did that. Didn't they?
What did they? Maybe. Not sure. I have to look back on that. But the question I have is, when they were having their talks over the CBA before the pandemic year got gone, what did they agree to? How long did they agree to that? Because that could be something that could hold up a cap moving.
I think 2 years.
2 years?
They said between 2.
Okay,
they said
so
between 2 and 3 years. They said between 2 and 3 years, and this is 2 and 3 years. This is season number 2. So you know what? They're going to start kicking the cap up next year. From what I've heard, it's probably going to be. It's probably going to. They're talking about $3 million, and $3 million would make a big difference to a lot of teams.
It definitely would. And as for Timo Meier, making that kind of a move for the Flyers, 25 years old is young. The question, though, is, and this is the thing that I would have to take a look more in depth at rosters contracts. Who's due for a big payday and who's not due for a big payday? Because that's the other thing you got to think on, because the Flyers have some players that are still on entry-level deals. Not everybody has gotten through their entry-level contract yet. That's the only thing that concerns me.
But they can buy. But the thing is, they could buy and sell. You know what I mean? If it's the right guy, they can buy and sell. Especially if it's a situation where they're going to be especially if they're going to be a free agent, and they get permission to talk to the guy's agent to see if he'd be interested in signing there. I mean, why not?
I'm not saying that you don't look into it. I'm definitely not saying you don't, put feelers out there. I'm just, there's a lot of things that I would want to take into consideration
Oh, absolutely. But
because
you listen. You never know. You
but-
never know what other teams are offering and what's on the table.
I get that. But the thing that bothers me when the Flyers get involved in these kind of things is sometimes a habit of giving too much, and then they hurt themselves in the long run, and then they don't think about the wider picture. This is going to help us now get into the playoffs this year, and then you get it out in the first round, and you're like, oh, well, okay, better luck next time. It's like, great. Now you signed into the extension. Okay. Well, how are you going to pay Cates? How you pay this guy? How are you going to pay that guy? You just hurt this team even more so than you did 5 minutes ago. Yeah, it's like that's what bothers me with the Flyers when they get into these big deals. They get these big, giant goo-goo eyes at the big-time players, and then they start screwing up and making stupid decisions. And I get it. The Flyers are not the only team that's guilty of it. There's plenty of GMs who have done it too in other organizations.
Oh, God. Yeah.
But, it's just something that I'm not saying pass up on Meyer. I'm saying be very, very witty with how you're going into this. Be very smart. Be very, very crafty if you have to be. Be slick to be.
Well, I'm just saying.
Just think about it. Don't rush in.
Every team has to have a plan. Okay?
Of course.
I'm sure the Flyers already have their plan. Okay? And as I said, you could be in a situation where, you know what, some of your young guys, you're getting a pretty good idea this year who you should want to keep and who you think are keepers and who you think you could afford to let go. Okay? At this point, I think you got a pretty good idea now. So, I mean, the question is, if there's something that's on the table for them that's going to improve them now and improve them later, it's not something they should just say no to and just worry about getting draft picks.
Right. Well, based on their play, the three players that you're going to really need to target in terms of signing them out of their entry-level deal is, Maddie, you said one, Noah Cates. He's been a big primetime player for the Flyers this year. So is Cam York. They'll need to ink him. They'll need to also ink Morgan Frost. That's three big names.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think you're going to be looking at? These are all going to be bridge deals, right?
They are going to be all bridge deals because they're coming off of in the thousands, not the millions.
Right. So you're going to be looking at
which
probably having to go up to about $3.5 million.
Right.
For these guys right now.
Right. Adds up though, especially if you're up against it. It depends on what contracts you shed this year before the trade deadline. That's going to be a big
exactly. Seller. But you have to figure you're probably going to trade Provorov. You're probably going to trade Van Riemsdyk. Okay, so those are a couple of big hits that are gonna come off the books. So
if you don't have to eat salary.
Well, for this year.
Yeah.
Just for this year.
Right. Wouldn't affect next year. Right.
Yeah, it's not going to affect that. That's what I'm saying. I mean, So I just think sometimes when I look at all these trades, some teams that are the teams that are really, really awful. Okay, your Anaheims, your Chicago Blackhawks. Okay, it would be stupid for them to do something like that. But a team that's like right on the cusp of making the playoffs, that really, really has that has a absolute deficiency that needs to be fixed. That's something some of these teams I think should look at. And you know what? If it's a guy that's first of all, if it's a star and he's got a modified no trade list, okay, and the Flyers are not on the no trade list, they're on the list where they can get traded. Obviously, the guy wouldn't mind going there. So that's a situation that I think deserves to be checked on, because obviously there's some interest there. Just like, the big joke, Patrick Kane doesn't want to go to the Leafs, and all I'm hearing is the Leafs want to get Patrick Kane, and Patrick Kane has made it known he doesn't really want to play there. So, he'll change his mind. I don't, anybody could change their mind. It's all about the do-re-mi money. But
so it's now guaranteed, folks. Patrick Kane will be wearing a blue and white Toronto Maple Leafs jersey before the trade deadline is all said and done. It's going to happen. He says he doesn't want to go there. So that just pretty much means, yeah, you're going there. It's happening.
Yeah.
It is happening, folks.
Well, they can't trade him there if he refuses to go because he does have a no trade. So that is
Yes. Okay.
that is true. But that seems to me to make the most sense. From what I've heard, there is no way the Rangers are giving up Kakko or Lafreniere to get a rental. So, right. That's not good. They'll give up a first round pick, but they're not going to give up those guys. There's no way that's going to happen.
No.
See, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him in the City of Angels, man, down in L.A., man. You ought to bring Showtime to L.A., right? Because that's where it belongs. And they got prospects that they can give up to the Blackhawks.
Oh yeah, but do you really think that
that's true?
Do you really think that team is going to win a Stanley Cup this year if they got Patrick Kane?
No.
Yeah, not because with the lack of quality goaltending play, right?
Yeah,
right. They're not gonna not go for it, and it's a team that had a great start, but kind of has been slumping over the past month.
Yeah, absolutely. Although they're looking good tonight.
I can see I could see I could actually see maybe a Minnesota try to get in on Kane, maybe try to work out a deal of some kind. I know that their cap may not be the best in the world, but at the same time, if you can take some contracts off the books, give them to Chicago's rebuilding, give them picks in order for them to be comfortable with that deal, you get Patrick Kane. That might be some good depth for a young Kirill Kaprizov.
I heard Jordan Greenway is on the block. Yeah, he'd be a nice piece for he'd be a nice piece for anybody to have. I mean, he's really
absolutely
a young player.
that could
big physical nasty defenseman.
That definitely would get Chicago to the table. Yeah,
that
would get Chicago to the table.
I would think so.
And I thought I saw this, Maddie. Minnesota Wild's actually got about 3.7 already in cap space right now at this minute. So I mean, they wiggle a little bit more, and you can get a deal done.
Yeah, maybe that's why they want.
Minnesota or a team that's in their same position.
That could be the
maybe that's why. Maybe they're telling, hey, Chicago, you can have this. Yeah,
you got to open up a whole plug-in Kane. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a first-round pick, and you can also have this guy, who is going to be a really good defenseman, and he fit in really nice with Seth Jones for the next few years.
Right. And also on top of that, and it makes it makes sense too for both sides anyway, because like you said, Chicago's rebuilding. Seth Jones is probably miserable, but that's all right. That's what you get for leaving Columbus. And then on top of it,
for chasing the money.
Right, chasing the money, leaving the small market team, going to the big Windy City, and the Windy City just blew you right into last place in the standings. Oh well.
Exactly.
All right, so let's see here. Swoopy in here. What's up, Swoopy? He's saying, hey, gentlemen, what's going on, A2D crew? How are y'all doing? I'm doing fine. And he's like, what's most exciting happening in each one of your lives besides the Birds being in the Super Bowl? Well, I'm not really a football guy, although I am happy for the fam, and I'm happy for the A2D fam here, for the Eagles managing to break through. I don't know if the two gentlemen that are on the show with me are necessarily that happy that the Eagles are running the NFC in this year's Super Bowl.
I could care less. They didn't give me enough fantasy points last weekend in DFS. That's all I care about.
So fuck them.
Smith was supposed to go gangbusters on that secondary. What happened? They outran their linebackers like I thought might happen. It was more of a ground game than most analysts thought. Anyhow,
right.
Hockey.
But yeah. Besides that individual excitingness, I mean, well, I got my last semester of my school, so hopefully, big things in the future. So fingers crossed. That's exciting. Nerve-wracking too.
Yes.
But
time to use that knowledge.
Right. So they can teach you every time to apply. Like, oh fuck, I didn't think about that.
Oops.
Yeah.
Well, I could say looking forward to another trip to St. Thomas again. My
There you
favorite
go.
place.
There you go.
Enjoy life, man.
It's
That's a blessing.
yeah, end of February. End of
Nice.
February.
Ooh, nice. Nice.
Yes.
What about you, Robbie?
I'm just happy I woke up this morning.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be nice to sleep a little bit more once in a while?
Oh, of course.
Get that
It is
perfect
good to always be safe in. But no, I'm happy for the loved ones in my life. I'm having extremely
you
good
go.
times these days.
Good.
There you go.
That's
there you
important.
go.
And pumping out baseball
All right.
articles. Let's go. It's fantasy baseball season. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, because we are
I
getting to that
wrote an
month,
article
and
today
pitchers
about
and
high
catchers are
schoolers.
almost here.
Who?
I
About
wrote an article about leading into this year's draft, and they put out the top 100 of MLB Pipeline's current minor leaguers. But then I went into college and high school players for people in dynasty leagues, like going down to like the top, like, rated prospects that they're going to go in the first round this year. In other words,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Ah,
That's hard.
big,
That's hard, though. That's hard.
yeah.
I mean, because you have to act. It really helps to be able to see him play, and if you don't have the chance to do that, it's really
No,
hard.
the film's easy, man. YouTube, man. It's so many great. Like any guy I looked up, man, I found countless clips of him.
Really?
Yeah, even high
Wow.
schoolers. Yeah, Max Preps is the bitch. I love him. Good people.
That's still hard. That's still hard to do, though.
Yeah, it is
It's
to get
hard,
a sense of it
especially
to write
baseball.
confidently about it and see who's going to project out. But there's just such clear guys. Like, for example, last year I wrote about Drew Jones, Andrew Jones's son.
Okay.
You got Jackson Holiday this year. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
there's some guys.
There's
You got
certain guys
Jack Wilson's kid too. Jacob Wilson is a highly high prospect for this year's draft. Anyhow, sorry.
Yeah, Lighter's kid's gonna end up lighting it up one of these days.
You think so? He dropped down. He free-falled into the 70s in the top 100, I think, from where he was in the mid-20s. But he's still young. Yeah, he's going to go up and down a little bit, grow up growing pains. But he's going to be
pitchers are
yeah.
Pitchers, they get rocked. They get, especially young ones, they get rocked a couple of times, and then all of a sudden the world's coming to an end. It doesn't seem to bounce off their shoulders as quickly as like a guy who's been there before, and
All right, so let's see here. Ted saying we have a Philly team going to the Super Bowl. That's a pretty big celebration. Yeah, it definitely is.
You think?
Yeah. Although, if they manage to win the whole thing, oh my God! You think something now? I don't know if Philadelphia will handle it. The city might literally. I said it about the Phillies. I'll say it about the Eagles. I think the city might be burnt to the ground by the end of the celebration if the Eagles win a second Super Bowl.
Oh God, I would hope that doesn't happen.
Oh,
God.
And Swoop is saying, absolutely agree with the poll. The goaltending has been a huge surprise too. Yeah, the goaltending's been a surprise. Hart, I mean, obviously we knew what we were going to get out of Hart, but I gotta love what you've been seeing from Earson, who's been doing pretty well since he came up. And Strom, he's I love the kid. He tries. Unfortunately, I think the team goes to shit every time he's in net. It's so I feel bad for him every time.
The injury kind of derailed his season a little bit, getting his legs back underneath him. But I like where Swoopy takes this comment to, because one thing I wanted to do before we moved on to the Bobby Holt tribute is I wanted to get Brad's perspective in terms of his grading of his Rangers at the All-Star break, and then maybe me and you, Maddie, we can voice our grades for the Flyers. If you're looking at the offense, the defense, the goaltending, the power play, the penalty kill, what sort of All-Star break grade would you give them if you guys want to do that?
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that how
do you want to
qualified I
start
am
with
to do it for the
Brad
Flyers,
grading his Rangers?
Okay, where do you want me to start? Goaltending? Shesterkin, A-. Since last year was an A, and he's not quite as good this year as he was last year. I mean, that'd be hard to repeat what he did last year. He's been really good. I would say A-. Over Rangers defense overall, B-. Shesterkin, as usual, has been saving him, and Halak has really come back, and I'm shocked to put it bluntly that I'm seeing what I'm seeing out of him. He had one win in December, and now he's won 5 in a row. So now he's 6-6-1, which has helped. So the goaltending is between the two of them. I'd say A-. Defense, as I said, B-. As far as chipping in scoring, A+. I mean, they're all, the only one that's not scoring is Ben Harper, and I wouldn't expect him to score. I mean, it's Ben Harper. He's not going to score a lot of goals. But Schneider has really become an outstanding player. Miller is finally becoming an offensive threat, like we all thought he would be. Trouba's been pretty good offensively. Fox, I mean, Fox. I think he may not win the Norris this year, but you know what? I think he's actually better offensively this year than I've ever seen him. Guy's incredible. Some of the passes that he makes are incredible. He gets an A+. Okay. The rest of the Lindgren is always tough. He does what he does. He hits and protects Fox and clears the front of the net like him. See, with the defenseman, you have to do one of two things. Either if you're not going to score, hit somebody and keep the front of the net clean. Okay, and Lindgren does the second one extremely well. Trouba has been pretty good offensively. I'd like to see a little bit more. Miller has been very good offensively. I think he's got like 27 points now, so can't complain about him. Can't complain about Schneider either. Now up front, we've got some disappointment, and we've got some surprises. I mean, Panarin only has, I think, 14 goals. He should have more goals than that. I know he's got a buttload of assists, so he's probably got over 50 points. I don't remember exactly, but he's probably got over 50 points. Mika Zibanejad has 22 goals. Outstanding player, as always. Kreider is a little bit down from last year. Didn't expect him to score 50 again. Like to see him hit 35 to 40. I give him a B+. Mika an A. Panarin B+. Want him to score more goals. Trocheck a C. I'm really not real happy with what I've seen from him. He's only got 13 goals, and I think he's got like 27 points. For what he's being paid, he should be doing better. Philip Hedl, A+. Now it's 16 goals. One of my 3 stars for the week. I couldn't be happier to see that he's finally broken out. Kakko is on the verge of breaking out. And Lafreniere, we're still waiting to see what happens with him. But since they reunited the kid line, Lafreniere has been a lot better. He's had, I think, 3 points in the I think he's had a goal and 3 assists in his last 3 games, so he's starting to produce again. So maybe it's just a case. The other thing with Lafreniere is they've been putting him on the right. They were putting him on the right side before, and he's a left wing. Some guys just can't do it. I mean, we saw Chris Kreider against the Maple Leafs the other night in front of the net on the right side of the net, and a puck that was going in the net, he deflected it and completely stopped the shot. So, and it was probably going to go in. some guys can do it and some guys can't, And I think Lafreniere needs to just play left wing. The Rangers need to find a way to keep him at left wing, and by putting him with the kid line, uh, Kako plays right wing, even though he's left-handed, and Beadle is outstanding. They should be okay. And I'd like to see them improve the fourth line, but overall, comfortably now in the playoffs, uh, chasing the Devils and the Hurricanes, and hopefully they can catch one of them and at least come in second and have home ice in the first round. But they need a little bit more offense, and if they can get a little bit more offense at the trade deadline, they're going to have a say about who represents the Metro Division in the Final Four.
All right, then. So, Rangers right now, one of the top teams in the Metro. Still a whole half of the season, but Brad, I guess you would say you've been enjoying the season, though. To say that you haven't been disappointed.
No, not at all. I mean, I look at the roster, and we were hoping that three guys would break out. Hedel, Lafreniere, and Kako, and I kind of got 1.5. Hedel has 16 goals. I would say that's a breakout in 51 games. That's really good. The guy's only 22, 23 years old. I think that's outstanding. Kako has really started to show. Kako is kind of starting to take on a role and look like Alexei Kovalev at times. He's that good. He hasn't been able to finish as much as you'd like to see him finish, but you know what? He's on the verge right now. The guy that I'm concerned about is Kako, and damn it, the Hurricanes just came back from 4-1 in the third period against that team that plays no defense, the Los Angeles Kings. And it's 4-4 now. I mean, come on, Kings, for God's sakes. And there's still 7 minutes to go in the game. The Kings are gonna lose this game, and it won't even be in overtime. How pathetic is that with a 3-goal lead? Anyway, I digress. But yeah, I'm very happy with the way things are going. We just listen. We need to add a goal scorer at the trade deadline. We have to get the VC down to the second line with Panarin and Vinny Trocheck, and we can't have Barclay Gaudreau in the top six. He's got to be a fourth line player. So if we can do that, get the guys where they should be in their roles, I'm ready. I'm ready for the playoffs, and not afraid of anybody, including Boston, by the way, because they're starting to show that they're human the last couple of games.
All right, then. Well, we'll see. We'll see if things go well. That'll be fingers crossed moment there.
Yeah,
but
it's
Rob,
it's tough to make trades when they all want the same guys.
Right. And you got like out of all 30 teams, you got even imaginary ones that all want in on this. So
yeah,
Rob, you wanted to give grades to the Flyers side of things with me. So where did you want to start? Did you want to start offensively, defensively, goaltending? Where did you want to go to start things off?
We'll start the same order as Brad, man, and I really want to hear your answer first, and then I'll get mine.
All right, then. You know what, Brad? Where did you start? To be completely honest with you, I was all.
I go inside. Okay, I went inside out, buddy. You go from goaltending, defense, and then forwards.
All right. Goaltending wise, as for where we've been at, that we've had, I would say that I will give it a good B minus. I think that solid performances here and there. I don't want to give him a C because I feel like that helped to some of the performances that Hart has had and to some of the performances that Earson's had as well. But at the same time, I do count that there have been some lackluster moments as well. And I think a lot of that has been because this team has had its moments where it's looked very, very shaky. And unfortunately, when your team is shaky, your goaltending is only going to last for so long if they're not on. If they're not going to be on their A game tonight, you're going to let some goals in that you probably want back. And unfortunately, the Flyers have had more than a few games where that's happened to them. But I think Hart has had some really great performances in net, and I think Earson has also elevated this. If it wasn't for the play of Earson and the shutout from Hart, as well as some other great performances he's had earlier on in the season, I probably would have put them in C range because, like I said, taking into those accounts of those really bad performances that they had, just doing mediocre level, and I would probably put that C. But B minus, I think, is fair from the efforts that I've seen from them.
Yeah, I get it. Toronto Maple Leafs, Boston Bruins, they scored some goals on Hart, but I'm gonna have to disagree with you a little bit. I give it a solid B, and I think it should be even higher. When I always looked at my starting goaltender, 2 criteria would be fine with me: a goals against under 3 and a save percentage above 900. Right now, Carter's sitting at goals against of 288 and a save percentage of 911. A full 12 and 11 hundredths of a point higher than those regimens. Carter Hart's having a quietly good year, and people just want to keep on tearing him down. But I think he's had a good year for where this team stands. I think Ersson has proven, and Sandstrom at times too. Sandstrom is probably an AHL goaltender, Joe. Yeah, for sure. Neil Little, but Ersson, I think, has stepped above him. But either way, you have a quality tandem. I believe Ted said, how long has it been since this team has had a quality backup goaltender? For that alone, let alone the stats that I rattled off for Hart, I'm giving him a solid B. Maybe I should have gave it a B+. Let me know, fam.
All right, then. But we're cool. We're pretty much in the same range, though. We're in the same ballpark. We're in the B's.
No, we're not falling off. I just like arguing with you, Matty. Yeah. I agree with you too much. I just like to argue.
No, I got you.
Listen, if their defense was a little better, if their defense was a little better, and they weren't constantly giving up A+ chances, I think you might Court would have a higher grade for sure.
Sure, but I mean, Brad, 288 and 911. Are those
911 is 911 with that defense is pretty darn good,
right?
That is not poor at all. That is exceptional.
That is. I mean, that's.
But let's trade him. Fuck him.
No, right? You can't do that.
Right. Yeah, he's a bum. Yeah, he's a scrub. Get rid of him.
They want Ersson.
I know, it's amazing.
You want listen.
Right.
You put him on. You put him on the Kings. Okay, and
they win a cup.
they'd be a very dangerous hockey team.
Right. They go on that same run they went on 2012, where they win in everybody else building but their own. So that would be what the situation would be. But no, honestly, the only reason why I even knocked it down to B- range was because, again, I think the Strom his starts, unfortunately, his injury didn't help anything, but I feel like that kind of drags it down a little bit in terms of the performance-wise. But is that all Sandstrom's fault? No, not all of it is his fault. Like I said, it's not always the goaltender's fault. We all know that this defense has a habit of saying, hey, goalie, we're not going to play defense tonight, so just wanted to let you know. Just wanted to be nice about that. We're going to be absolute trash in the defensive zone. Just wanted to let you know. And then the goaltender throws his arms up, says, well, I guess I'm giving up softies all night long. Move on.
How's the penalty
defense
been for you guys?
Penalty killing's been good. I actually gave the penalty killing an A-, man. They're right above mid-range, probably sitting between 14th and 15th in the league, and with a high 70% kill. I had the numbers up before. I'm not going to look them up now, but it's been all the shorties, man. Up to
You have 9. You lead the league in shorthanded goals right now, right? 9.
I was going to say 9, so it must be 9.
Yeah, I think they were. What was it? The Ranger announcers were mentioning that the Rangers have had a lot of shorthanded goals, but they don't have 9 like the Flyers do. That was the comment their analyst Joe Micheletti said. So they it's noticed around the league. I can tell you that.
Right.
Now, Swoopy here saying that I love that the Flyers are making teams dump the puck in. I see them playing with way more aggression and pressure. However, they're still sitting back too much and looking to block shots, which, again, that's a telltale sign of Torts' system. Yeah, that's what he does.
Playing layers defense. That's what he does.
Right. Swoopy also
little
says
lower
Torts
than I
said in
thought.
an interview with. Go ahead, Rob.
A little lower than I thought on the penalty kill. They're actually 18th with a 77.3%. But I'm gonna verify.
That's a massive improvement from last year, though.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. That's why I'm still saying.
I mean, especially on the road last year, they were almost at 6. I think they were in the 60s last year on the penalty killing, especially on the road.
I agree. Flyers are tied with the league lead with 9 with the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, I think Carolina scored a shorthanded goal tonight, by the way.
So they just tied it then. Okay.
Yeah.
Swoopy saying Torts said in an interview with Jason M that he hasn't made the team into or show their true style / play yet because he didn't want to rush them or overwhelm them. He wants to slowly work them into it. It's smart. Smart. Yeah, you don't want to overwhelm. And then what else did he say? He says, nothing wrong with blocking shots at all. Blocking shots is very important. But don't make that the focus. Look to get after players and don't let them get shots off at all. So that's what Swoopy was saying. Gotcha. Okay, so as for my grade of the penalty kill, since we were talking about that, penalty kill-wise, I'm going to... Not A-, I'm going to give it a B+. The reason why is I do feel like they do get a little leaky at times. They still need to tighten up at times. I feel like there's moments where they look great, and then there's moments they get way too loosey-goosey in that defensive zone. And they do it on even strength too, but they do it as well in the penalty kill. And it's like, guys, 5 seconds ago, you were doing everything just fine, and then one too many guys got out of position. Like, come on. Get it. I know you can just get it. Relax. Let it come to you. But I still think, though, they've been performing rather well on their penalty kill, which is nice to see. They do kill off some really untimely penalties as well, because there's been some moments where, let's just say a few immature moments every now and again have happened on the Flyers, thrown in the box just a little, and very inconvenient times in the third period when you've got a lead to defend. That's always very nice. Or when you're trying to tie the game up. But they do kill us. So, all right. I can't really get mad at that. It's kind of like breaking even. It's like, all right, at least I can't get mad at you for that. So, but anyway, thank you, Swoopy. So I'm going to go B+. Solid play that I've seen from them at times, but they do need to get more consistent on it. I think they will. As long as it's slowly working it into them, then okay. It's a slow process. It's not one of those things where they're going to get it overnight. You're not going to get it overnight anyway, but they're working on it. So far I'm seeing progress, which is good. Marked improvement. I'll take that over anything else. All right. So now that we've gotten PK in there and we've gotten goaltender, we might as well transition that over into even strength defense. Rob, did you want to go first? Do you want?
I want your answers. I pose the questions.
All right.
Starting to sound like Roddy Piper down there.
Let's see.
That's right.
That was a Roddy Piper. That's similar to a Roddy Piper comment. Just when you think you have all the answers, I change the questions.
Great line.
Right.
Great line.
You remember that one, right?
Yeah. Classic.
Best heel.
Hey,
best
Kenneth
heel in
Grant.
business.
Right. Kenneth Grant saying Cutter Gauthier should stay on here at BC. Will Smith, Ryan Leonard, and Gabe Peralt will be on board as freshmen next year. Cutter is all alone this year at BC. I got you. So they want him to have some teammates. I see what they're doing. Yeah, chemistry-wise and everything. That's fine. Yeah, if it helps, with adaptation of the game and everything.
Look how good it did Noah Cates with the, playing, continue on with his collegiate career. Yep.
Help Chris Kreider.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So not against that. Chris Kreider too. Yeah. What's up, Benny? What's going on, brother? And what's going on, Tom? All right then. And so as for the defense on each strength, where the penalty kill has it has shown some marked improvement. Oh, there are times where that defense, man. Whew, good God. All right, I'm going to give them all right, let's see. I'm going to give them a C. I think that, again, they've had their moments, but then at other times, I feel like it's just when they go bad, they're bad. Like, it's just like, and they can't stop nothing. Now, don't get me wrong. There is something to be said for top-tier talent going up against young players and inexperienced players, and also going up against less talented players. I get that. But it's still the defense. They still got to do their job. They still got to hold the blue line properly, and they still got to try and in front of the goaltender and avoid having secondary opportunities, which unfortunately they allow a lot of secondary opportunities, which do kill them in the long run. And I'm just going to roll with the C. Swoopy's giving them a C- on that, which I'm kind of leaning towards it. I will say I'll give them a C for the fact that they have had some decent performances here and there on the defense where it's been throughout the game. Not that many, unfortunately. They've had more bad performances than good performances. But, again, here's hoping that while this is a process, that Torts is saying, let's hope eventually gets into the even strength what we've been seeing from the penalty kill and maybe some more consistency there. But, yeah, that's my opinion on the defense. Too leaky. Way too leaky. Do need to fix that problem.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're both being too kind. Has it gotten better? Yeah. Has there been good moments, to your point, Maddie? Yeah, a lot of that came about once they brought Cam York back up, right?
Yeah.
Sanheim's had some good moments, both offensively and defensively, right?
Right.
Way too leaky. I'm giving them a solid D. And without the benefits of those others play, they might even slipped into F territory. What they have done well is less east-west passing and more north-south passing, getting it quick out of the zone, not fumbling around the puck, but yet they still got to kill the turnovers. They're losing the turnover battle way too often. And too many missed assignments in front of the net where you guys see him skating free and clear and easy through the slot. That should not happen. I'm being a little tough grader here because there have been finer moments and I don't want to overlook them. Tony DeAngelo has been a really good player, especially quarterback in the power play, but also being responsibly defensively. So
problem with Tony DeAngelo though is he's -16 though.
Right. Right.
I mean, he's there. He's obviously he's getting beat a lot. I mean, that's the one thing about him. He's a really good offensive player, a terrific passer, and puck mover. But I mean, the problem it's his size. I mean, he's small, and they take advantage of him in front of the net. That
Yeah.
is it. Really, that's always been his issue. He's not a big enough guy
But
to he's got to. I mean, Tortorella's got to work with him on that.
you're not wrong, but the thing of it is that he still plays the system well. I mean, fucking Torch loves this dude. He loves him more than white bread. You know what I mean? Because he plays the system well or whatnot. But the proof's in the pudding. The proof is in the stat sheet. That -16 speaks volumes.
Yeah, it's just oh boy, did they just win the game? I think I can't tell Carolina won. They just moved the net to see where the puck is.
Oh God!
I mean, there's a big
It's gonna be
pile
one
up in
of-
front of the net, and they just and now they're moving bodies out to see if the puck's in the net.
Did they? Is it going to be like one of those controversies where John Leclerc scored a goal that went under the bar of the goal, and that shouldn't have counted in a playoff game? That was pretty funny though. Looking back,
I guess it never went in. But I mean, they had two guys run into the. They had two guys. The Hurricanes had two guys run into the goalie just now. The goalie stopped the first one, and then on the rebounds, the second guy ran into the goalie, and then they were all on top of him. And I guess the puck did not go in the net because they're still playing.
Okay then. Swoopy
And
thing,
the Kings, by the way,
the
Kings have not had the puck in the overtime.
Oh God, they haven't had possession at all.
They haven't had possession of the puck, and Carolina just won the face-off, of course. Finally now the Kings have the puck behind their net.
Oh,
So
it took them
okay,
long enough,
there's
right?
hope now.
But Swoopy's saying I wanted to say D, which I think it is, but I thought you guys would have laughed him out. No. If anything, I think I'm being a little too lenient. The only reason I say I'm being too lenient is because there have been individual performances that I've liked from some of the defensive players.
Right.
Maybe I should take that a little bit more as a whole. So I think, if anything, I'm being a little too lenient on that grade for me.
But a prime example of what you're saying, though, Maddie, is Ristolainen, where there's other games where he just looks completely lost, misses assignments, and then there's other games where he just kills people with clean checks. Like, you know what I mean? No penalties, no arms up in the air. And that's what you want to see.
Right. Absolutely. And you're right, schizophrenic-like. It's like you just don't know what you're going to get.
Guys, he's been like that his whole career. I don't know that. I don't know if he's. I don't think he's young enough to really be able to change that. I mean, he's been kind of he's the kind of guy who'll play a good game, but he always seems to make one really bad mistake. That's always been his. That was his issue in Buffalo too.
Right. Well, just like a bitter ex-lover, man, I hope when he came to Philly that he could change. You know what I mean? It just didn't happen.
Right. It's tough. You always wish that's like, oh, it was all Buffalo's fault. And that's the reason why he stunk out there. It's always been Buffalo's problem. Yes, we'll make you better. We're a legitimate team. We're a shit team. Yeah, look at the standings now and try to argue that point. But anyway,
is Buffalo going to make the playoffs this year?
They could. I mean, they might. It's possible.
I think they're only 1 point behind Washington right now, and they have 3 games in hand on them.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Now to think about that. Think about the fact that Buffalo could make the playoffs minus goal and minus several other players they had during that particular period when they were trying to rebuild the team and failing at it miserably. And now that they've got everything, it's like now all of a sudden it's like this team knows how to play hockey. It's like, the fuck is going on? Like, what the hell? Maybe there is something to Jack Eichel. Who the fuck knew? Like,
I think we'll get
Eichel has not been that good this year, by the way, guys.
Yeah, he has not been. He has not been.
True.
But I think we'll get to the answer to your question, Brad, about Buffalo when we talk about the Bo Horvat deal to the Islanders. Because does that get them into the fray now? You know,
True.
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Only,
I just want to
they're
let
only
people know
one
we're going to
point.
talk that.
They're only 1 point out of the playoffs. I mean, I consider
True.
them. They're never going to catch the Rangers right now because they played more games than the Rangers, and the Rangers have like a 6 or 8 point lead on them, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, and there's the game-winning goal, by the way, by Carolina. Of course, they scored on a power play. I mean, they had the puck. They had the puck for the whole daggone
Right.
the whole daggone period.
It was only a matter of time. It was only a matter of time for Carolina to get that win.
I mean,
so Benny's actually saying it's tough to grade the defense. Yeah, well, that's LA for you right now. It's a tough grade, the D, based on who will be here beyond the deadline or at the end of this year. Braun, Sealer, Proby could easily be out of here come next year. Now, I know that he was kind of talking about how he came in late on this, but this comment still has a lot of relevancy, and it's true. I mean, Braun, who knows if he's going to be around next year. Sealer, another guy who's in and out of the lineup. He may not come back. Proby, we might trade his ass. So, it's like he's got a point. A lot of these 3 names right here, we may not see them come next season. It's possible. It's possible.
They could end up trading D'Angelo too.
Buffalo.
I mean, if
we'll
see.
Needs a
power play quarterback, if somebody offered you a first or a second round pick for D'Angelo, are you telling me you're not making that deal?
I'd be stupid to turn that down, taking that deal.
Exactly. And you know what?
Of course I'm taking that deal.
If there's a team that's power play that has a power play that's just not clicking and they need a quarterback, there you go. I mean, there's the guy. I mean, he may have his faults, but I'll tell you what.
First round pick, okay.
You never know. Listen, you never know at the trade deadline how many teams might want him and what the situation's going to be. If there's a lot of teams that are struggling on the power play that need a guy at the point, and there almost always is. That's a guy that you might want to watch too. He doesn't have a no trade, that's for sure.
I mean, hey, if someone called me, if I was the Flyers GM,
2, okay.
2.
So you might be able to get a very high draft pick for him because
Ted was bringing up the notion earlier. Yeah. I mean, I think Torts is going to want to kind of hold on to him, a guy that knows the system, and you put younger defensemen around him this year and next. But if you can get a good return
in this draft, you have to think about it. If somebody's offering,
gotta do it.
Depends what they're offering. Yeah, I think
this just in. Roska says Carolina Hurricanes won at 5-4 in overtime.
We know.
Thank you, Roska, for the update.
Thanks for
very important.
By the way, Roska. How long did the Kings have the puck in the overtime? Other than when they won, other than just before they gave the puck away and gave the Carolina Hurricanes a freaking power play in overtime. I mean, here's the one that they had
That's
one play.
Nice.
They had one play where the Canes turned the puck over, and they had a shot from about 25 feet out in the slot. And the goalie made the save. That was their one threat. Boy, oh boy! And I thought the Rangers were bad in the third period. Holy crap! That was this game was a hold my beer moment. This third period for the Kings. Oh my god!
So now you feel a little bit better about the Rangers. Ted's saying Buffalo will be. Buffalo will be playing Boston in the first round. So that would be interesting, though, because we haven't seen a good old Buffalo-Boston matchup in a while in the first round. I'm actually kind of here for it, to be honest with you.
if any team could knock off Boston and surprise them, after the killer season they're having, it could be Buffalo.
It could be. Buffalo.
I would love to see it, honestly.
Buffalo's been playing really
And here's
well.
the thing. I mean, I hate both teams, but you know what? At the end of the day, to watch a team like Buffalo, who last year was just bottom feeding, and then they all of a sudden come in this year with a team that just got hot and managed to knock off the top team in the entire league, and we all get to point and laugh at Boston. You know what? God bless them. God bless those motherfuckers. Like, you know what? Go. Have fun. Do it.
Just remember Columbus a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah. We were all pointing and laughing at Tampa when that happened, too.
Tampa Bay had 131 points. And you know where it got them? It got them 4 playoff games.
2 at home, 2 in Columbus. And that's was
correct.
all she wrote.
Mm-hmm. And down the toilet they went.
Yep. That was funny. We all got to point and laugh at Tampa that year. Yep.
Yes.
And you know what? You're welcome to St. Louis, because if that hadn't happened, who knows what would have happened? It would have been Tampa and St. Louis in that Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Well,
St.
Louis should have been happy for that. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right, then. So we took care of the defense. We took care of PK. We took care of goaltending. So now let's turn our attention to the offense of the Flyers in our grading side of things here. Oh, hold on. Ted's saying, by the way, Toronto will be hosting Tampa again. Have fun, Leafs. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
That's a shame for them, isn't it?
I mean, Toronto's just one of those teams where first-round exits are just a staple at this point. It almost feels untraditional for them to, get out of the first round. It's like, you know what? Toronto's just meant to be first-round cannon fodder anymore. It's like, you know what? Sorry, Toronto. I know you've got all this great history, but you know what? It's too much fun watching you suffer. So,
yeah, but they have to play.
Last round you go.
They always end up playing Tampa Bay every year. It's just going to continue. They're not beating
that or Boston.
Well, they're
for some reason they can't beat them either.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Boston, and they can't. Yeah,
Boston just beats the crap out of them. Basically, that's kind of what happens there. That's been going on for decades.
Yeah. We don't have to bring up that. Yeah. Well, we all remember that Game 7, that infamous Game 7 when Boston snagged that right out of the jaws of defeat. Boy, you talk about a moment. I remember watching that happen, and I could not help but laugh. I mean, I hated Boston with a passion, but at the same time, I cry laughing when James Ryan
everybody was laughing at Toronto.
I started crying laughing. I was like, how did you fuck that up, Toronto? You had that game won. You had the series won, and you fucked it up that royally.
It was 5-1 with, 8 minutes to go in the game? 8 minutes to go in the third period?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And they gave it all back.
Yeah, they didn't even get to overtime.
No, they did. They got to overtime, but yes, it got to overtime. Didn't get far into overtime. I think it got maybe 3-4 minutes into overtime, and then the goal got scored by Sagan.
I know it happened. It happened pretty quick though.
Yeah, it happened so fast it was practically like it didn't go to overtime. But anyway, to the Flyers offense we go on the grade side of things. So, offensively, well, the Flyers have had their moments where they've been scoring goals, and then they've had that moment where goal scoring has looked like the Sahara Desert, not a single one to be found. It's been pretty rough at times for the Flyers to find some offense. However, though, there have been those players that have risen to the occasion, try and jumpstart the offense, and they do try as hard as they can towards it. I think what we're seeing with the offense is young players trying to get into the system, to figure out where their role is. Some of them have got it down. Veteran players who have had to step up on occasions to try and get it going. Unfortunately, this is, and I want to say this now, this is the moment where I get to say to every Giroux hater out there who's ever shat on Giroux, whoever thought Giroux was not talented,
What a
whoever
year
thought Giroux
he's
was
had.
not a leader on this team, whoever thought that Giroux could not be a top player in this league or be a captain, you can all officially go eat a whole bag of dicks. Because you know what? Giroux has proven that he was beyond talented, and look at how the Flyers have struggled without him offensively. Tell me that this is not a coincidence that the Flyers have gone through offensive dry spells without him. And that's a coincidence.
Have you seen his numbers in Ottawa this year? He's
and have you noticed how the Flyers have had their troubles offensively? I wonder why.
Yep.
Might have a little bit of something to do with that fact that Giroux's not here no more. So anyone who has said that Giroux had no talent. What were you going to say?
Pretty good though. Tippett's been pretty good.
Oh yeah, Tippett's been fine. I have no problem with Tippett. I was just saying that anyone who's ever shat on Giroux here right now. Giroux was a major part of the offense.
You'll need to sign an apology letter to Claude Giroux. That's for sure.
Right. Yes. Right. Send that card off to him in Ottawa, because now you see what's less angry on the other side without him. All right. Anyway, grade-wise for the offense, even strength-wise, well, again, it's hard to grade because, again, it's schizophrenic as hell. There's been moments where they score, and then there's moments they don't. As for, you know what, I will say, because you like some of the young talent that have stepped up here and have really tried to find their game. Players like Cates, players like guys who have really taking steps forward. Allison's popped up. Even with his injury problems, he still managed to get on the scoreboard several times. I will give it a I'll just go with it. I'm going to give it a C+. I think that they've had
that's
great games,
high.
And then they've gone through the dry spells. I don't think that they deserve a D, and I don't think that they deserve just a C, because I feel like putting it just a C would be putting it with the defense, and I feel like the defense has been way worse. You know what I mean? I feel like the offense has actually shown me something at times where they're trying to find goals, and they're trying to score. Do they always get them? No. Is it always their fault? No. Sometimes they do run into a great goaltender. It's like, okay, they're not scoring tonight. That's like whoever's in net is just saying this to them all night long.
Listen,
that
happens to everybody, though. There's always
you're right, and you're not wrong.
Yeah, you're gonna listen. There's always a few games every year where you just run into a goalie that you can't score on, and you dominate the game and play an outstanding game, but you just can't score because the goalie was too good. I mean, that's kind of what happened to the Rangers against the Bruins last game. They lost 3-1 because freaking Swayman, as usual, just they couldn't score on him. They had a million shots. They outshot Boston, like 35-19. But they couldn't score.
Right.
So
they
that
do
happens.
Go through dry spells. I can't deny that. But I will say, though, I do think, though, there is that hunger for them to score. They are trying to get those pucks in the back of the net, and I think they're trying to get to the dirty areas and try to get some of those ugly goals. They've been working on that, and I think we've seen that where they do try a little bit more than holding it as much as they used to. I think that they've been more aggressive there. So I'm going to give them a solid C+. I think that has it always gotten the results that we wanted? No. But there have been young, up-and-coming individuals who have found their way of getting a bit of a nose for the net. Another time to highlight Cates, because I like highlighting that kid. He's pretty freaking good. And Frost, while he started out poor, I guess Torts fucking cracked the whip on his ass. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, shit, okay, maybe I need to start scoring goals. Like, yeah, maybe you fucking should help your situation a little bit, and he did respond to that.
Maybe you need to go to the net.
Yeah, maybe
playing-
just a little
stop,
bit.
yeah, maybe stop playing. Stop trying to score. Stop trying to score from the perimeter, because you're not
Right.
Bobby Hull, and you're not going to take a slap shot from 30 feet and beat anybody anymore.
Right. But yeah, I'll say C plus. I think that they've had great games. They've unfortunately had some bad performances under their belt. So, Rob, I will now kick the ball to you, or pass the puck to you is a better word to say. It's a better phrase.
You
And
sure?
was that too lenient, or yes, take it? And was I too lenient, or do you agree?
I 100% agree with you, Matty. I have offense as a C plus as well. If you asked me this question, earlier on in the season, right? This team lacked guys that could finish, and that's all you've been seeing over the past month is people making plays, finishing. Travis Konechny, a prime example, Exhibit A. The young guys you mentioned, Tippett, you mentioned Noah Cates, you mentioned a guy that once again is out right now day to day with I believe a lower body injury, Wade Allison. If he could stay healthy, he's produced well. Morgan Frost has produced well. He's kind of been slipping back a little bit of late, but at least there's been that finish on plays, stuff you'd like to see. If not for a piss poor power play, this might have entered B territory, but I'm giving it a C plus. I've been really impressed with the offense. I think this has been, we talked about in the poll, is this team exceeding expectations? This is a big area. I think it's exceeding towards expectations in terms of being able to net pucks.
Right.
Guys, I think if you look at it though, honestly, if you compare it to the rest of the league, it's pretty much a D plus. But if you look at the talent before the season started and what you were expecting and what you're getting, then I would agree with you. So I mean, it depends how you want to look at it. Do you want to look at it and compare it to the rest of the league, or do you want to look at it by what the expectations were and what you're getting now? I'm just saying, because again, I don't see a lot of the Flyers, unfortunately. But I'm just looking at how many goals they scored as a team, which is like 140 something like that, which is low. That's not a lot. I think the only team they scored more goals than this season in the Metro is the Blue Jackets.
Nah, they're high. It's higher than you think. They're 20. I mean, it's not great, but it's 23rd in the league with 142.
Okay.
To give comparison, your Rangers have 157, 15 more goals.
Yeah, but that's a lot though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the thing is, if you look at it though, the Rangers have won a lot of the 1-goal games that they've played.
Sure.
And those 15 goals are probably the reason, the difference between where they are right now and where the Flyers are, because the Rangers don't give up a lot of goals either.
I agree with that.
Probably,
but we're just talking
I'm just
offense,
guessing.
though.
I'm just guessing. Yeah, I know. I'm just guessing though that they're probably, if they may have the top goals against average in the Metro right now. I think the only teams that they've given up less goals than them right now in our conference might be Boston. I mean, I could be wrong. I haven't.
No, you're right.
I haven't looked at the standings in the last couple of days to see the goals for and goals against, but they haven't given up a lot of goals this year.
129 is second in the league to Boston's 109.
That's what I'm saying though.
Yeah.
It's the goal differential too.
Sure.
And
Sure.
that's
right. But
that's where the Flyers can fix the defense a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the key, because that's where you get that's the difference. I mean, perfect example. They were in a very close, tough game, their last game against Vegas. Okay, I mean they had a 2-1 lead in going from the middle of the second period into the into the third period, and they're with about 10 minutes to go. Vegas was putting on a ton of pressure to try to tie up the game, and Heedle made one of those end-to-end rushes and somehow scored. I still don't know how that puck went in the net, but he kind of backhanded it towards the net, and I think it went off of somebody and went in. But this is kind of where what I'm saying, they can find a way to score in these tight games, and that's something the Flyers have got to learn how to do. When they're in a close game, if they're down 2-1 or they're up 2-1, they got to figure out a way to be able to get that next goal, get the 2-goal lead. Or if they're behind, be able to figure out a way to tie it up, and then lose in overtime like the Rangers always do.
Here's the thing, though. What I'm looking at, though, from the way that I'm seeing the offense, I'm not really comparing it to the rest of the league because, quite frankly, I don't give a shit about the rest of the league. Because I knew the Flyers weren't going to make the playoffs this year, and I wasn't even interested in the playoffs this year because I figured, you know what? I'm not worried about that. I'm not interested in that. I was more interested in seeing, okay, what about the Pups? How are they going to handle this? Can they take a step forward? That's what I was more worried about. Can we see something from Konechny, which we have? Now I want to see it next. Say, all right, this better not be friggin' one-off from you. You better do this next year. You better take that step and keep it going because the last thing we need is him to regress again. And I wanted to see if Lawton himself, and he still can, without having Giroux and without having other players there along with him and him having the A and having more pressures on, which he was able to do. And that's fine. These are the kind of things I was more interested in. I was more interested in how that was going to work in the offense. I wasn't really interested in how they compared to other teams in the league because it was like, you know what? We need to focus on getting this taken care of. I'm not like, let's see what we got wrong going on right now, and let's see how these players are developing right now, more so than what's going on with the top teams. It's like, whatever. The top teams, if they dunk on us a game, they dunk on us a game. It's like, you know what? I don't care. It's like we're not that kind of team right now. We're still developing. I'm more interested in seeing that moving forward. So that's where my head was at. My head was not on the competitive side. I really wasn't thinking that at the end of the day. Rob, how were you feeling on that? Were you in that headspace, or were you more in the space of development side? Oh, Mike's muted.
More development side.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. I'm just looking at it the competitive side, and I apologize. I don't mean to be.
No. That's
I'm just trying to.
It'd be different if you were right, but you're wrong. So you can talk about half an hour longer, but I'm not going to agree with you. So it's fine.
Oh, that's not the first time.
Right.
Remember,
okay, so what?
You're going to beat the Eagles, so I've been wrong before.
I'm wrong like it's my job, and you know what? Sometimes it is.
All right.
But what I'm not wrong about is like wrapping up this story with the Flyers power play, and that's a straight F for me. They're 29th in the league, 3 from the bottom with a 16.03% rate on the power play. It's been putrid.
Yeah, there's no defending that. You can't argue with if somebody wants to say, "Hey, the power player sucks." Like, yeah, you're right. I can't argue with it. It's just bad. Like, I don't know if they even work on it in practice. Like, I really have to call that into question at times. Like, it's like Torts. I know you said this is a slow development. Do you mean like slow in the sense of you're doing things one at a time? Because the PK seems to be finding its footing. Okay, do you want to spend some time on the power play now?
That's a familiar theme with him because when the Rangers during the Tortorella period, they were great at killing penalties, but their power play was, shall we say, less than exemplary.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
now I understand their power play was Brandon Dubinsky and Ryan Callahan, were their
Oh.
were their two.
Right.
I mean, so I mean, they had just gotten Rick Nash, and no, this was just before they got rid of Tortorella just before they got Rick Nash.
Right.
So because it was the year when Rick Nash came. That's when they went to the finals. A year later they went to the finals, but they had just gotten rid of him just before that. So, but I mean, that was the one thing about him. You'd sit there and you'd wonder, geez, this power play, man. I mean, I know that there's not a lot of talent here, but can somebody just stand in front of the net once in a while?
Right. True. I was going to say, when you're lacking skilled guys, it makes it tough, but that's when you get back to basics: shots from the point, parking guys on the porch.
Yeah, and
right.
That's I guess that seems to be a problem right now.
It improves. Yeah. You gotta build the skilled guys. They got to build confidence. You know what I mean? Like we're saying, we're seeing the finishes in EV 5-on-5. You know what I mean? Can you make those plays? Can you not avoid the extra pretty pass and get the shots on net?
It's surprising because JVR is a guy that's always been really good in front of the net.
Right.
And does he play in the power play for you guys? Is he out there? I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm asking you.
Second.
Yeah, so he's on the second shift. Yeah. Okay.
I'll verify that thing.
Okay, because I mean maybe because he's always been a guy that stands in front of the net and scores a lot of garbage goals. But that's how you score in the power play. It's not always going to be a perfect shot or a perfect pass to somebody who has an open net to shoot at. Sometimes, you just have to get in front and score an ugly goal. Those ugly goals are the best goals ever. I mean that's
right.
That's the best way. That's the easiest way to score is if a guy's in front of the net and he's screening the goalie, or he distracts the goalie to a point where he gets there's a rebound. I mean, there's nothing better than that.
Right. By the way, hi Eileen. Hopefully everything's going well with you. Let's see here. What did Ted say? Ted said, he also said Ottawa isn't doing any better than us. Their D sucks and they have a better offense. Then he follows that up with, never mind. Ottawa is better now.
This past
now,
week,
he does say this about TK. So you got to trade TK. Teams.
Giroux has just been terrific.
Yeah, it's over the past week. I think they got 3 wins this past week. Yep.
Well, there you go. Ted saying teams will want him. He's gonna want more money than he deserves, and you'll be able to get the best package for him. He's not a top liner on a championship team. Trade him to Detroit for assets.
No.
Well, I mean,
why would you do
see?
that?
Here's the thing, though. Like,
he's 25 years old, right? Mm-hmm. So why do you want to? You don't trade him when he's that young. If he's 30 is one thing. I think he's getting into his prime now.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. But TK, I think what Ted's assuming. I think Ted's assuming that TK's not going to play well next year. And so sell him now before he has a shit year next year. I think that's – I get where that would come from because we saw it happen before. So, but, again, let's have some faith that this is not a one-off. We got to have some in these players. Don't give up on them so quickly. It's easy to do that. And, unfortunately, in Philadelphia, it happens all the time. So, anyways, let's move on from that. Power play wise, one pretty much an F. I'm not even gonna remotely. So my grade's pretty much agreeing with you, Rob. A big old fat F on them on that one. So, yeah. All right, so we gave our grades on that one. And I think that's pretty much covers the first half reactions for the Fly Guys here. So that first period brought the gentleman Alan Foy at EXP Realty. Buy or sell a home, or you have a change in career or brokerage, contact Alan Foy at eXp Realty at 302-682-8820 or visit him at alan.foy at exprealty.com. And we now mosey on over to the second period, which is brought to you by all OC. If you're ever in the Jersey area and you want to head down Ocean City, say hi to John and go visit the shop, all campus. And he's giving out 20% to everybody who is subscribed to A2D. So get subscribed up there. And that includes hats, shirts, and so you can wear your team colors with pride. You visit Ocean City and get 20% off the order. So nice little deal there for you for supporting A2D campus. All right, then. The second period time, unfortunately, riding the high wave, we unfortunately got to come down now. So, tragically, the Golden Jet himself, Mr. Bobby Hull, he tragically passed away. It's a real shame for the hockey world. It was tough. It was tough for the hockey world to lose him, mostly because of the fact that, this is a guy who has done so many amazing things for not only the sport of hockey, but also just being an ambassador. That's great. With a nice autograph puck there of the Chicago Blackhawks, of course. And Bobby Hull, of course, made history with the Blackhawks. With him and Stan Mikita, they did eventually win a Stanley Cup, which was a big deal for them because the Blackhawks were not supposed to win the cup the year they won it, actually, with them. So that was a special moment for them to get that upset victory. But not only that as well, Bobby made history even again after he left the Blackhawks, because he famously, of course, took the first $1 million contract and went to the WHA and played for the Winnipeg Jets for that period.
Yeah,
of
and
time.
they won and they kept winning the what was the name of that cup that they had the
AVCO.
The AVCO Cup. Yeah, they won it like every year they were winning. Every year it seemed like they won it.
They won it, I think, 2 or 3 times, before eventually the league shut down. But the only trophy that the original Winnipeg Jets ever got their hands on. But Bobby Hull, of course, it's a shame too, because he would actually be way higher on all-time scoring list and with a lot more records to his name, unfortunately. But the NHL doesn't recognize those stats, so a whole part of Bobby Hull's career is just kicked aside by the NHL. But
yeah,
the NHL didn't.
If you include his WHA goals, he'd have 913.
Yeah, that's
unbelievable.
That is crazy, man. That is really, really crazy.
Yeah,
it's a shame. It really is a shame.
An original Flyer, Andre Lacroix, was a superstar in the WHA.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a flat out. He was he used to get like 150, 160 points a season in the WHA. So I mean, there were some good players in the WHA, and don't forget, Bobby Hull played with Anders Hedberg and Ulf Nielsen towards the end of his career.
Right.
True. And of course, he was older when he went to the WHA, but you know what? You got to say that there was definitely a much more offensive league because he was the first one to score more than 50 goals. I believe, like you had Richard and another dude do it beforehand, right at 50, but he hit 54 and 65, and I think topped out at 58. And then a season or two into the WHA, he all of a sudden scored 70-something goals. So there was definitely a little bit of inflation there, but hey, they'll take the goals anyway, which way, right?
Oh yeah. Well,
Right.
the goaltending was not as good in the WHA as it was in the NHL. Obviously, I mean,
Right. Truth. Yeah.
they didn't really.
I think there
That's something
was.
that league never really had. They never had great goaltending.
I think
I
they
mean,
only
they
ever
had
had
some
like.
great players though there.
I think they only ever had like maybe one or two really great goaltenders that went there. I know Gary Cheevers left the NHL and he went there. He had an issue with the disputed contract, so he decided to say, "Screw it, I'll go to the other league." But I think there were a couple of other goaltenders that did come into the league a little later on who actually did have an NHL career, but really I think it was only one or two. And that was pretty much it. So that's not a lot. That's you're talking about a league that had 13, 16 teams or something like that at one point. And not all those teams lasted for more than 2 seasons either. So WHA was not a very solid league at any point.
But they had some unbelievable players in that league, though.
They did. And some of them did have NHL careers too.
Oh my God! But a lot of NHL players left the NHL and went into the WHA, and were really good in the and they were pretty good in the. Carol Vadnais, who came up with the California Golden Seals. I'm sure you remember him, or maybe it was Oakland Seals when he was there. I mean, he ended up going to the WHA, and then Boston picked him up when he was ready to leave. You could the list could go on and on. There were a ton, I can't remember off the top of my head all the great players in the WHA, but boy, there were Derek Sanderson. If you remember, I think he played. Sanderson. Did he play for the Whalers or Philadelphia or the Philadelphia Blazers? I can't remember now.
I think he played for the Whalers.
The Whalers, okay.
Yeah, I think he played for the Whalers. But but back to Bobby Hull. Shame that we lost him. It's a tough loss for the NHL. Yeah, a tough loss for the league. So kick it to you guys. Is there any moments that you want to highlight from his career? Any big moments with the Blackhawks, or if there are any in the WHA you wanted to throw up? Are there any at all that you guys wanted to highlight?
I mean, I look at a couple things that I read today. He still holds the Chicago Blackhawks franchise record with 604 goals. I mentioned that he was the first one to score more than 50 when he had 54 in 1965-66 season. When you think of Bobby Hull, you think of the slap shot. You know what I mean? Absolutely, I think he had the best slap shot of all time in the NHL. No, it's a different league. You can't exactly score like that now, but he was the one that was curving that blade and like making it almost like a lacrosse stick, firing that
100. They timed his slap shot. I'm just reading this. I don't know what I wouldn't know this off my head. Okay,
Sure.
They timed his slap shot at 118 miles an hour, and his wrist shot at 105 miles an hour, and he could skate nearly 30 miles an hour.
Yeah,
and that was in the 60s.
Yeah, it's impressive.
I mean, that's crazy.
Now you couple that with blonde hair, and that's why you get called the Golden Jet.
Mm-hmm. The only guy who's ever shot the puck harder than him was Shea Weber.
Right. Yep.
That's what they're saying here. So.
Right. Yeah, well, think of this too, like going through sort of his biography earlier today, right? By the time he left the NHL in 72, right, the 50 goal mark had been reached only 11 times in NHL history, and Hull did it 5 of those 11 times.
That's not surprising.
Right.
Yeah, he was unbelievable, and his brother was pretty darn good too.
Yep. Yeah, I think didn't he play with him in the WHA? Or was that with the Chicago? No, that was with Chicago.
No, he played with him in the WHA, and he played for him in Chicago.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, they
And
said
then, of
that
course-
he may have had a harder slap. They said that he may have had a harder slap shot than Bobby. He just couldn't hit the net.
Right? Wow, yeah.
Bobby could hit the net. Yeah, he's the guy that had the big shot in it, but he couldn't. But he never got it on goals. So
Do you remember their goalie Glenn Hall, Brad?
he was on the Blues, right?
Yeah, he was on the Blues for a time. He was with them in '65 with
Toronto.
the Blackhawks, right? I got a
Oh,
quote
okay.
from him earlier today when he was talking about playing with Bobby Hull in practice, and he goes, "There are days when you just step aside and leave the door wide open. It's a simple matter of self-preservation."
Yeah, back when I was a kid, we had a kid that when I was growing up that every time he took a slap shot, whoever the goalie was, he used to just run out of the net because this guy shot it so hard.
Right.
And
Oh yeah.
I could kind of relate to that.
Yeah.
Save
So
yourself.
so Bobby Hull, of course, obviously with the curve stick and everything, alluding to his slap shot, obviously there was the regulations on the sticks, so they always had to hide the fact that they were doing that too. They would always check the sticks before the game and say like, "Oh, is this stick certified? Yeah, okay, it's straight, so it's good." Then they would get the torch and warm it up so they could bend it.
Well,
and
him and Makita would do that, right?
Right, both of them would do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
Makita!
it's funny.
Makita was unbelievable. He boy, what a stick
Right.
handler that guy was.
Funny part
Well, he
is,
had
I
it
think
so
it was
curved he
Makita
couldn't
who
get
actually.
the puck off his stick.
Right.
You're right.
And the funny part is, I think that Makita accidentally discovered how the curved stick could work because he broke his stick, and he couldn't actually break the actual blade off, but he shot the puck with it trying to get it to go, and he realized, oh, I actually am far better with this than not. So they just started curving the stick, even though they weren't supposed to.
So what you're saying is, without Sam Makita, we don't get Bobby Hull as what we know him today.
Yeah,
It
essentially.
depends on how much you attribute to just the curved stick. I'm sure he's a fine hockey player. I'm sure he still puts up goals, but that kind of, there's a reason why everybody curves their stick now.
Right. Hell,
Hey, guys,
they make sticks
think
now
about
with
this.
the curve on it. So
They had Stan Mikita, Bobby Hull, and Phil Esposito on that team.
Yep.
for
for a while.
Right.
Until when Bobby Hull left, and then they traded Phil Esposito for Jim Pappin, Pitt Martin, and I don't remember the third guy to Boston, and that ended up being a disastrous trade for Chicago.
Certainly was.
Sure.
Because
Chicago may have they became the weakest of one of the weakest teams of the original six during that period. Then they got
with trades like that, yeah.
Although they did get sent off to the other division that the Flyers and the other expansion teams were in, and they were good enough to win it the first couple of years. And then eventually the Bullies came along and said, "Yeah, I hope you enjoyed those couple of years because now we're going to beat the shit out of you and take it." So
you were the chosen ones that got lucky enough to be in the West while we were all expansion teams. And once we got a couple of drafts in and developed our team, you stink.
Chicago was basically the bitch of the expansion teams after that. So Anyway, but all the same though, Bobby Hull, great legend. Shame that he is now gone. Of course, his legacy, besides the fact that he still has records that still stand today, and the fact that he made history by basically forcing the NHL to have to match WHA salaries. And because signing that $1 million contract changed the entire landscape of hockey after that. Because once he went to the WHA, other players said, you got $1 million? Hey, can I get $1 million? Because I can play just as well as Bobby can.
Well, they couldn't really. No, you're right because
they
back
bluffed.
then, high salaries were like maybe $200,000 a year. That was about as high a salary as anybody got. That was Esposito. I mean, you know, I think like Rod Gilbert was making $150,000 a year back when Bobby Hull left. And I mean, I'm not saying he was as good as Bobby Hull. He wasn't, but you know, he was still a hell of a player. And the Rangers ended up having to pay him a lot more money after Bobby Hull left.
Right.
Is he a Hall of Famer, Brad?
Who?
Dion.
Who
you just said?
Rod Gilbert?
Gilbert, yeah.
Gilbert, yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah, so
Yeah,
I mean, he's
he
way
scored
underpaid then.
Yeah, he got paid.
Yeah, way
Yeah,
underpaid.
He got paid, but he didn't get paid before Bobby Hull left.
No, I'm saying way
Right.
underpaid. Hello.
Oh, he was way underpaid, but
yeah.
he got paid after Bobby Hull left, though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
He
finally
was
in the end, and that's good to say. But yeah, you're talking about in terms of the comparison of 100. What did you say his salary was? 135.
I think it was
1,000?
150.
150,000 comparison to $1 million. You know what I mean? You're talking about Hall of Fame hockey player right here.
Right.
Right. Yeah, so a lot changed with Bobby Hull, and then of course, not only that, with that moment too, obviously another thing to leave behind, of course, the Stanley Cup that he won in Chicago, and the 3 Avco Cups that he won with Winnipeg, you know, and of course, Brett Hull, you know, another great player, second generation, and
Right.
another amazing goal scorer, and
Little different player than Bobby, though.
Yeah.
Just
different,
he was,
but in a good way.
Yeah, no, he was just different. He was the kind of guy that he would get in front of the net and get you know, and get a lot of get a lot of goals with his wrist shot. He didn't use a slap shot all that often. You know, he just had such a quick wrist shot. Nobody could stop it. It's quick release.
Right. But you see the Hull legacy still everywhere in hockey, and like we say, he'll be missed.
Yeah.
But take pride in that.
One of my favorite moments of recent was having Brett and Bobby going in as in the top 100 of all time NHL players at the Winter Classic. Them together, like that's how I'll remember Bobby Hull. And I think that's the only father-son combo that was in the top 100.
I'd be willing to guess that you're right.
Too. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else. No, there's nobody else.
Not father, son. Maybe brothers. Yes.
Right.
Phil Esposito and Tony Esposito for sure.
Right.
But other than
because I don't even think. I don't think even Gordy and Mark.
Not Gordy and Mark. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's what I wasn't sure of. Yeah.
Did Mark get to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
If he did, Gordy's in, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I
think Mark Howe has to be in the Hall of Fame.
He's a Hall of Famer. Yeah.
Okay, so there's your father-son. There's a father-son combination right there.
Right.
Still, though, that's only one of 2. That's pretty. And when Hull and Howe are the names, it's like, okay, that's some good company right there.
Well, I'll tell you what.
There you go.
Keith Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk, and Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah.
They're not Hall of Famers, but they're definitely all Hall of Very Goods.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe
Keith Tkachuk didn't make it.
I mean, Brady and Matthew are still very young, so
yeah, I don't think Keith Tkachuk made the Hall of Fame. He was a dynamite player, though.
I mean, he could. I would be. I could argue he could probably get in. I mean, he was a very good player. So I mean, he's one of the best American players. So I mean, it's.
He might be in the American.
It's a good argument to be made. American Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah, maybe.
The Sutters
says he agrees to the poll. Thank you, Tom.
Well, you know what?
The Sutter.
If Keith Kachuk is not in the Hall of Fame, he really should be. Listen to these numbers, okay? He scored lifetime 538 goals and 527 assists, 1,065 points. I mean, that's pretty daggone good. And
That sounds
he
like Hall of
scored,
Fame numbers.
yeah, and he scored 50 goals in 95-96 and 52 in 96-97, 41 in 93-94, and 40 in 97-98. I mean, he's got Hall of Fame numbers. That's
Yeah.
he had a hell of a career. I mean, he may not, maybe he's not in it, but probably because somebody doesn't like him.
Not enough cups.
Yeah, well, Giroux doesn't have one either, but I think Giroux is going to make it. Make it now.
Right.
Giroux's going to get 1,000 points now.
But I mean, your point's valid, though. I
Ottawa.
mean, people talk about Steven Stamkos being, instant Hall of Famer, and he just broke 500.
Yeah, I mean, Keith Kachuk really should be in the Hall of Fame,
Right.
actually. So
Right.
if he's not, he should be, and
Right.
his kids really are on their way. Especially I mean, I can't stand Brady Kachuk, but man, I'd love him on my team. I mean, he just he's such an ass, but you know what? He's so good. I mean,
Yeah. You want to hear?
I'm trying to think who he reminds me of.
Yeah,
Brady
Rob,
Kachuk.
you gonna say?
Maybe even I always thought him in the same breath as Keith Primo, but that's a story for another day. No, I brought up Stamkos' name real quick, and there's a tie-in to Bobby Hall here. This was actually like a week and a half ago, where Stamkos hit the 500 goals, become the 47th player to do so. But he did it while scoring a hat trick in the same game, and that he was just the 8th player to reach 500 the same game as a Hattie. We mentioned a couple of these names already:
Wow.
Jean Bellevue, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Mark Messier, Jaromir Jagr, Matt Sundin, and Brett Hull.
You're definitely at the top of the. You're at the top of the tree now. There's no low-lying fruit out of those guys. That's for sure.
Right.
That's
Nope. Not one of them.
No.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's one of those weird
Let's
stats
see.
where it's like you're getting your 500th goal in a game that you score a hat trick, but Brad knows there's a lot more hat tricks scored back in the day, to where some of these Hockey Hall of Famers could have done that, and to be only one of 8, and Brett Hull being on the list, maybe not surprising, but still kind of nice tie into as we pay homage to his father.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think as far as father-son combinations, though, that's got, or even family combinations, those two have to be the best ever. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean that it can't be close.
No.
I mean, they were so much. I mean, think about Brett Hull. What, didn't he score 60 goals?
Oh yeah.
He scored 60 goals.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he scored 70. I don't recall if he
Right.
did or not. But I wouldn't be surprised.
I was refraining from saying that, because I wasn't sure, but that was my answer. Yeah, he scored. Oh shit! In 90-91, he had 86 goals.
Oh jeez.
And
So
the year
he's in
before, in the
Gretzky
year,
territory. He got Gretzky territory then.
yeah. Brett,
He just is
yeah,
fine. He wasn't as good as Long, but he was still an incredible player.
right. They had that 3-year stretch where he scored 72, 86, 70, and then even 54, 57. That started
He only
to tail
scored
off a little
54
bit.
and
Still in the
57.
40s though. Yeah.
He only scored. Shame
But-
on him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know, right?
Like, I mean, 86. I mean, hell, 80. So that one year, he scored 86. Then the NHL 4 games long. Had more goals than games.
This is a good trivia question, Maddie. Brett Hull was not an original St. Louis Blue. Where did he start his career?
The Flames.
Yeah, good call.
So that come on now.
I didn't know. I'll admit I did not know that.
Oh, you didn't?
I did not know that. I'll admit that. Yeah.
You didn't have his rookie card.
Yeah, I never had the rookie card. That's why I would know that. 86, 87.
Yeah, no, 88. Actually, his rookie card was 88, 89.
You learned so much.
But on the back, it said Flames. That's how I knew.
Wow.
When I used to collect hockey cards, and
Boy. Well, you think the Flames regret not holding on to him?
Oh, are you kidding?
I think the Flames probably do just a little bit.
Yeah,
they might have competed a little bit more with Edmonton had they kept him around.
They're like, this Brett,
just a little bit.
Brett,
yeah,
this Brett's no Bobby. He's gone.
Yeah, he's not Bobby. Yeah.
He's out of here. Yeah, we'll send his ass to the North Division, the worst division in the league.
Yeah,
so he can become a superstar with St. Louis.
Yeah, he can't skate as fast as Bobby.
50
so
points when they traded him to St. Louis.
That is just
fools.
That is just stupid trading right there by Calgary. That's Calgary being cute. You know what that is? That's Calgary trying to be cute. They're trying to one up the Oilers, so they're getting cute here, and they make a fuck up like that. This is why. See, this is what I'm talking about. Even back then, when organized right, they'd fuck themselves by doing it like that. See, Calgary, you could have had something like Brett Hull, but you didn't. That's on you guys. That's what happened. You try to get cute and compete with Edmonton. That's on you. All right, so let's see
Hull
here.
And Agilna?
No, you know what? I'm going to compare Brady Tkachuk, and tell me if you think this is a good comparison. Jerome McGinley.
All right.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. That's not a bad comparison.
Yeah.
I think they're similar. They got scoring touch to them, but they've also got that feistiness to them as well. Aginla wasn't afraid to get in people's faces.
And they'll beat the crap. He'll beat the crap out of you too.
Right. So
he's got the
I can see that comparison. Yeah,
he's got the Gordie Howe hat trick potential.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He's a really, really good coach after he agreed to the poll. That's Ted saying those two twin defensemen Torts coached. He said, "Do you think that those guys are in the Hall of Fame?" I don't know. We'll leave that up to. Yeah. What's up, Don? And then Ted saying, you think we regret adding Forsberg to the Lindros trade? Yeah, just a little bit. I think we definitely. To be fair, though.
That was a tough one.
To be fair, though, in the same thing with Calgary, I get where Ted's coming from. It's like, all right, hindsight. How are they supposed to know, right? Actually, though. But to be fair, though, you kind of still have to throw a little shade at Calgary because of the season that he had, like you brought up, Rob. Whereas Forsberg hadn't even played a game for the Flyers when we traded him. So we had no idea how Forsberg was going to be.
You would have had a 32-year-old Brett Hull playing with a rookie Jerome McGinley.
Yeah, could you imagine?
You would have had a fresh prime Brett Hull. And think about this. You would have had a fresh prime Brett Hull.
Didn't Doug Gilmour eventually get there at that point too? Or was he
right, he was on the Flames. No, he was on the Flames at that time too. And you would have had also Tion Fleury playing with Hull. And so it's just like, oh my God, like you would have had a lot of Jesus. You would have had you had Gary Roberts on that team. You had a team out there in Calgary. Like, holy shit. Like, why did you not hold Brett Hull? It's like, what is wrong with you guys? Now we're really scratching our head at Calgary.
Yeah, they were smart enough. They were smart enough to go out and get Lanny McDonald's. But why did they? But then they traded Hull and they traded Hull and they traded Gilmour. So
Right. Like,
yeah.
what are you doing?
out of
What the fuck are you doing? It's like,
Yeah, that didn't work out well. I mean, yes, they did get Lanny McDonald, and he was great, but ooh.
I mean, I guess Calgary can laugh though because they did win a cup, but it's like you probably could have gotten maybe a couple, actually, maybe even 3. You might have actually been doing just as well as Edmonton.
The Steve Smith Memorial.
They would have been the Oilers of the 90s.
Yeah,
right.
Would have been.
Right.
Yeah,
you had that potential.
We could have avoided all those New Jersey Cups. We could have avoided all those fucking New Jersey Devils Cups. All of them. It would have been all Calgary Flames Cups. God damn it.
It's like, damn it, Calgary, you fucked this. You fucked all of us. Oh.
Yeah,
all right.
Mario Lemieux hadn't hurt his back, they wouldn't have gotten all those cups either.
Right.
Yep.
Oh my God.
You can blame Mario Lemieux.
So we would have also had a Calgary Flames versus Rangers Stanley Cup in '94 instead of the Canucks. They would have won in 7 instead of the Canucks in the first round.
I used to like the Flames. I don't like them anymore.
Yeah, my father grew up in Calgary.
See what you did, Calgary.
Yeah.
Oh, so he was a Flames fan.
He was pretty much. I mean, he rooted for the Rangers because he
would have been very interesting.
He didn't want to piss me off, so he rooted for the Rangers too. But he always made fun of the Rangers. God forbid if I made fun of Calgary.
Oh, I can't make fun of them and all the brilliant decisions they clearly fucking made back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, they got Lanny McDonald. Yeah. Okay, yeah, they did, and you won a Stanley Cup thanks to Steve Smith.
Right, but you know what? Take note of that because that's the only fucking cup you're. By the way, you're not getting back to the finals until 2004, and you're going to lose that one. Just letting you guys know. A little bit of hindsight ahead of time.
Yeah, you know what?
Anyway,
the way they started last year, I think a lot of people thought that they were going to win including me, that they might win the cup last year. And then they completely fizzled out at the end.
Yeah, and then they ran into Edmonton again.
Yeah.
They ran into Edmonton.
who could never get out of the first round until they played Calgary.
Yeah. Poor old Calgary. Still can't beat Edmonton all these years later. Still can't win the Battle of Alberta. Anyway. All right, so let's move on to the third period. All right. Third period here brought to you by FanUp, the best way to enjoy fantasy sport contests. And the NFL season is almost over, ladies and gentlemen. Pro Bowl is coming up before the Super Bowl, which, of course, I'm sure they probably have contests. Although I'm not too sure how many people would get in on that. That's more of a question I will kick over.
Is anybody going to actually watch the Pro Bowl? Probably not.
I mean, I don't, but then again, I don't really watch football, so.
Yeah, but
AFC quarterback right here. Watch for me.
There you go.
Okay, I'll watch for you, Rob. I'll watch for you.
Well,
it's gonna be the one time I'll watch.
Since Josh Allen decided he didn't want to play.
Disrespect. They could have put in Jacoby Brissett, who before Deshaun Watson came back, I think had 12 touchdowns, but instead they put in Tyler fucking Huntley. What?
Yeah, that's
fuck the Pro Bowl. It's done. I'm officially done.
Well, a flag football game. A flag football game. Flag football game is worse. They
finally introduced the skills competition, so I was like, okay, that's what I always liked about I always like the home run derby for baseball. I always like the NHL skill competition. I'm like, okay, I might not watch the game, but I'll watch that. I ain't watching anything.
What is that going to be? The punt, pass, and kick?
They did some cool, target. Like I remember they did it last year. I don't even know.
But you know what they should do? They should have this skill competition. They have the refs and who can flip the coin the highest. And there you go. There skill comp for you. My money's on the one who's like old and decrepit looking. He'll probably be able to flip the coin out of the fucking stadium, so we'll never know whether it landed on heads or tails.
Well, before he retired with Ed Hockley with the fucking.
All right. So, but yes, daily NFL contest. Pro Bowl is coming. But then after that, the big one, the Super Bowl. And it will be Andy Reid and his Chiefs with good old Patrick Mahomes back there in the QB position, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen Hurts. And, yeah, this should be very, very interesting to see an old coach facing an old team and the Super Bowl. So, daily NFL contest, definitely want to get in on that stuff coming up. You can win great prizes. And if you sign up today and you use the A2D code, you get 5,000 bonus points, which is a $50 value. All you got to do is go to fanup.app, use that code, get the points, and get yourself some money. That's exactly what we want you to do. We want you to win money here. So get in on that. FanUp. All right, friends. Time to dive in on the Bo Horvat trade. He is now first green and white of the Vancouver Canucks, and now he is receiving a jersey in the color of blue, orange, and white of the New York Islanders. In exchange, Beauvillier goes to the Vancouver Canucks along with Atu Ratu, and I believe a pick also went in that direction as well.
First round pick.
Conditional
first round pick.
First round top.
Yeah, if they
Conditional first round pick, and I do believe it was
it has
top
to be
12 projected.
Yeah. Yeah. So otherwise,
So
the following year.
Yeah, that's a
Right.
that's a smart move there by the Islanders because they're in a precarious position where they might not make the playoffs, so they might have a shot for that, to get in the top 12 in the lottery, and then they'll be able to keep their first round pick for this stacked draft and give them a first round pick in 2024's draft. So that was I think that was a really wise move by Lou Lamoriello. Go figure.
Well, what I'm going to say about this is if the Islanders do not trade, the Islanders do not make the playoffs, or if they cannot re-sign Bo Horvat, that may have been the stupidest trade in the history of the team.
True.
Because they gave up a lot for him for a rental. You better make sure you sign him because that is way too much for a rental.
Yeah. And Lou said that they have every intention on doing that. That's why they make this deal because, Anthony Oblivier, he's been mired. I think he could use a fresh scenery, but it's really Atu Rate that, that's a fine prospect that they're giving up to this.
He's their number one prospect. You gave up a first round pick, your number one prospect, and a very good player. He's a third line
an NHL ready player now, a prospect, and a first round pick in the stacked draft. You better sign Horvat.
Yeah, if you don't sign him, then the only thing what would be typical of Lou Lamoriello though is they have him for like a month, right? When's the trade deadline? The end of the month?
March 3rd.
March
3rd. Okay, so they have a month. If they can't get themselves in playoff position, do they go when they trade him and get a king's ransom for it?
Oh, they could. Since the deal was
Trade
done
him
so
again?
early.
Huh? Since they're getting him
Since
so
the deal was
early?
done so early, yeah. That leaves that option there.
Yeah, that could happen.
Yeah, flip them.
Yeah, they could flip. They could.
Based on what quotes I'm reading from Lou, I think they have every intention of signing him. He's a good fit for this team. This team is even worse than the Flyers on the power play. They're 31st ranked with 15.5%, and Horvat brings 11 power play.
Their power play is horrible, the Islanders.
Right. And Horvat's got 11 power play goals on the season. So, that's going to be a natural good fit. You can't assume it. You got to see it on the ice. But as long as you see that, I think this is a good, potential fit for the Islanders.
Well, you put him and Barzell on the same line. That should help Barzell because Barzell's been floundering quite a bit in the last couple of months.
Right. But Brad, even they don't have to pay him at all for this year. You know what I mean? It would be signing for the future, right? So
Right.
ignoring that, they still have room underneath the salary cap right now to make another deadline deal. And Lamoriello said that they have every intention to continue upgrading this roster. So I agree with you. They're not done. Let's see how it goes in terms of his chemistry here in New York.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They still have a month. They could if it's not working and they're further out of the playoffs and it's apparent that they're not going to be able to pay him what he's asking for, because he's going to want over $10 million a year. He's a $10 million player. The Islanders can't pay him. They can always trade him.
Yeah,
they have a month. I mean, that's the thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I just can't believe that Vancouver waited, didn't wait and try to get more teams involved. And I also heard I don't know what the package was from Boston, but I also heard that Boston offered them probably a better deal than the Islanders. But he wanted to go to Long Island for whatever reason.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, that might. I mean, according to
they were on his list of teams he wanted to get traded to.
Who's Vancouver's GM? I'm trying to. I forget his
Rutherford.
name. Is it? No, I think they
Jim
moved on
Rutherford.
from him, didn't he?
No, Jim Rutherford's still their GM.
Okay. Well,
No, he's still there.
Yeah, he's still there.
Basically, they really liked what the Islanders were giving up. They're a big fan of the prospect and the pick. You know what I mean? Like, that's why they jumped on it now. Because they didn't need to wait. They got what they wanted.
But could they have gotten more?
I mean, see, here's the thing, though. If you also have to take a look at the situation that's going on in Vancouver. Vancouver now is getting hit hard because of all the shit that's happened over the last
And
it's Patrick Alvin. That's who it is. That's the Vancouver's GM, Patrick Alvin. I think.
Oh, okay.
Okay, then what's Rutherford doing then?
I think he's the president. I think.
Oh, all right.
I think.
Oh, okay. So he's the boss of the GMs. Okay, got you.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, Vancouver, though, with all the shit that's been going on, honestly, at this point, I think that the reason why you would turn down what would seem like more, it might be something where Vancouver wants to find something that can get them results. Whereas, like, okay, if say you offered more draft picks to Vancouver, that would seem like the logical. It's like, okay, so since you're trading everything off, you might as well go get more draft capital, right? Sounds like the logical choice. I think Vancouver at this point wants to try and reassure its fans that we're getting players back that are ready to compete and play now instead of guys that we have to develop moving forward. Well, I think that might be where their head's at.
I mean, the prospect they got, they already sent to the minors. So,
well, I get that, but I'm talking more about not necessarily Ratu, maybe Bavillier, and bringing him in.
Bavillier
could be effective now.
Bavillier is a good player. I mean,
right.
I think he needs to change the scenery as well. That's definitely a situation there.
Right. I'm thinking that that's where Vancouver's head's at, because Vancouver at this point has been getting hit hard. The fans have been pretty upset, and rightfully so, because the organization fucked over Drew. And on top of it, you bring Rick Tocchet in. Now, I know we all have a nice sizable boner, understandable thing. Rick Tocchet did play for the Flyers for a couple of runs, so I get it.
Yeah, he's a guy.
Tocchet as a coach.
I despise Rick Tocchet as a player. I despise him as a coach. I couldn't stand him in the broadcast booth. All he did was knock the Rangers. You know what? I wish nothing but bad luck for him.
Well, you might not have to do that. His coaching record is.
All he did was cry when the Rangers beat his boy Crosby last year. He was literally crying in the studio that when they went to the post game show. He was literally crying in the post game show. It's not right. Crosby missed 2 games. the Penguins were a better team. Ah! Who told the Penguins to take a penalty in overtime of Game 7? I mean,
the fact that they actually penalized the Penguins in Game 7 in overtime is shocking in and of itself. But
Panarin had almost had a breakaway, and they had to pull him down because he would have gone in 1-on-1, and they pulled him down just before he would have had a breakaway. So that they literally had to do that because you couldn't let him go on a breakaway against who was it? Jarry? When Jarry was in that game, and Jarry played pretty good, but he was a little unsteady that game. Yeah, he came back to play that game.
Okay, because I know DeSmith had to come in for a period of time during that series. But let's see. So in the end, though, Vancouver right now, they're getting hit pretty hard. We knew that they were going to be trading a lot of pieces, and things were still pretty chaotic out there. And they're probably not going to get settled down anytime soon. And Tocchet, as a coach, mixed results. He's had some good seasons, and he's had some awful seasons. Now, to be fair, he's not always had the best teams to work with. That's also something
Didn't he coach the Coyotes, though?
He did coach the Coyotes, which is why I'm not too harsh on his coaching history.
I was going to say we can't really blame him for whatever happened in that particular instance because the Coyotes they don't even try to win.
But that's also the reason why I have to say mixed results, because he also coached Tampa, and Tampa didn't do too well with him. However, he did get results out of Arizona, where they did get out of the first round, and they actually made an impact, and they stunningly won in the first round when they beat Nashville. No one expected them to pull that off. But in the end, he's gotten results. Mixed results. Best way I could describe Tocchet's coaching history in terms of him as a coach.
Well, somebody obviously liked what he had to say in the studio.
Right.
But as far as I'm concerned, that studio, him and Paul Bissonnette, they can both.
That studio can burn to the ground.
Yeah. Well, I don't want them to be in the studio, but I would like to see it burn to the ground with those two guys in it. Oh my God, two guys who absolutely couldn't stand the Rangers. Paul Bissonnette was another one that couldn't stand the Rangers and couldn't stop
what were you gonna say,
about it.
In those two seasons with Tampa Bay Lightning in 08, 09, and 09-10, which was decent teams, he put together a record of 53, right? Yeah, 53, 69, and 26, finishing 4th and 5th and missing the playoffs both years. So, I mean, he did get to that one first round there in with a weaker quote unquote Arizona team, but the resume isn't too flattering. But I think this might be an example where you see finally a guy do well. You know what I mean, in terms of learning from past mistakes.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, and you are dealing with clean slate really in Vancouver, where it's more of a clean slate out there.
Cooper.
Right. And so, who knows? Results could come in the positive direction for Tocchet this time because,
And you still have some good players on this team, man. You still have Elias Pettersson. You're not going to, I mean, for the moment, you still have Brock Besser.
JT Miller.
JT Miller. I mean, like, there's some pieces to work with here. Quinn Hughes, you get younger, maybe Tocchet could be successful here.
Maybe. I mean, like we said,
take a couple of years.
He had younger players. It will, but he still got, like I said, with Arizona, he had younger players that were inexperienced. A lot of them, some veterans, but mostly younger players. So it might be something to it. Maybe he's good with younger players. In Tampa, he was dealing with a lot of vets because they still had LeCavier and San Luis. So that team was still a lot of its veterans before instead of rookies.
as a result of this deal, too, I read this earlier today because talking about Canucks trading their captain here. There's now 7 NHL teams that now do not have a captain. The Ducks, Coyotes, Flames, Kraken, Jets, Flyers, of course. Now the Canucks. I mean, that's weird, right? 7 teams.
Right.
Yeah,
That must be a high because the captain's becoming a myth now in the NHL. Captains.
It's going to be like the captain in
There
baseball.
our team is the captain.
It's going to be like the captain in baseball. You get one
Non-existent.
every 10, 12 years.
yeah, exactly.
So the trade. So I guess, Brad, you're looking at it from a perspective of the Canucks winning this deal instead of the Islanders.
I'm looking at it that if the Islanders sign him, the Islanders win the deal. If it's a rental,
Okay.
they lost the deal. I don't care what they do this year. They gave up way too much.
So everything has to be barring on him putting ink on the contract. Gotcha.
Exactly. You cannot give up. You cannot give up a really good player, your top prospect, and a first round draft choice, and have the guy be a rental. That's just crazy to give up that much.
I got
Even if it is Bo. I mean, Bo Horvat. There is something to the when a guy scores a lot of goals on a bad team. I mean, I know they count, but you kind of got to wonder because that's the guy that it's always that they're setting up all the time and is always shooting. That's why sometimes these guys that score a lot of goals on bad teams, it doesn't necessarily translate on a good team. Not everybody's Reggie Leach, guys. Right? It doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, Reggie Leach was a special player.
Yeah, well, he scored 25 to 30 goals a year with the Seals, and then he gets traded to the Flyers, and it becomes 60 to 70 goals every year. But again, it's playing on a good. That some guys it works for, and some guys it doesn't.
Right. So, Rob, how are you feeling on this? Who do you think won this deal?
I got to imagine that he puts up at least 19 more goals here in the second half and reaches 50. Islanders aren't going if they got money to pay him, they're going to pay him. So, assuming that they gave up a steep price, but this could be the difference maker, taking this team that was once looked at as a Stanley Cup contender and putting them back in that category. This is a big move for them.
All right, then. So
Deep
Islanders
price.
get that. Yeah, but hey, when you're trying to, when you're at a point where you're at that one last hurdle that you're trying to clear before you reach it, sometimes you pay those big prices when you get to that point. The Islanders 2 times they got
in all fairness though, for the Islanders,
final.
they're going to have Mayfield coming off the books and Varlamov coming off the books at the end of the season.
True.
They're ready
Does
to
free
move
up
on
space.
from Varlamov. That's for sure. They don't really need him anymore.
No,
they found their goal. They found their goalie of the future.
Right. So
yeah, Varlamov will end up being Edmonton's goalie next year.
And then he'll get like 5 or 6 extensions. Yeah, you're probably right, and he'll get like an extension after like Smith does.
Boom.
For some
we got
befuddling
Brad's hot take right there.
Yep. That'll be their next goalie after they get rid of Soupy. Soupy is the soup is not cooking very well in Edmonton these days.
No, it is not. A team that's barely even in the freaking playoffs right now.
Right. Exactly.
Oh,
and it's because their goaltending's terrible. Toronto knew what they were doing to get rid of him.
Yes, they did. Campbell. Whew. I mean,
yep.
Goddamn. That's all I can say.
I believe Olivier was a high second round, but it is like they got 3 first rounders. That was I did read that quote too, Ted.
Yeah. The truth is though, hey, Vancouver, I think it's a win for them too. I mean, they have to rebuild. I mean, they're trading pieces off. They got to figure out what the hell to do now after the disaster that has turned into their team. So there's a lot to go through with that franchise. But with that being said, that takes that. No other major deals have come through, not recently.
Not yet.
So we're still waiting. Yeah, but March 3rd is still about 4 or 5 weeks away. We got time.
Yep.
So we'll see.
In about an hour, it'll be February, and that's when it's going to start getting hot.
Yeah, I would agree.
Right. So eyes glued to your phones because they might go off any moment for a notification on a trade going down. So keep that in mind. All right. So we will run to overtime for the shootout. And that is brought to you by none other than Alonzi Travel. Alonzi Travel, their job is to specialize in the vacations. I mean, every now and again, you go through the rigors of life. You're going through all of the job and the stress at home and bills and all that fun stuff that you have to do adulting wise that sucks. Well, every now and again you want to get away from all that. You just want to go relax, find your destination for relaxation, and then you go to Alonzi Travel, specializing in creating the vacation of your dreams at Disney, Universal, or wherever your heart calls to. Let their talented team create a custom vacation for you, and get to that happy place. Go, don't walk, run to Alonzi Travel, and then don't walk, run, and sure enough, you'll be there before you know it, relaxing and enjoying things, and not letting all the stressors in life get to you. All right, so gentlemen, shootout time. And for this week, we'll start off with Player of the Week. Who do you think took the week?
Go for it, Brad.
Claude Giroux.
Nice. Love
4
it.
goals, 4
That's
assists
exactly
in
what my
5
pick
games.
was.
Yeah. Boy,
Hell
he had
yeah.
some week.
You did.
Yep.
He had some week.
Robbie.
Marner was good.
Marner was good. Yeah, for sure.
Philip Hedl had a good week. Jack Hughes had his usual unbelievable week.
Yeah, a lot of fine performances. Nylander had 4 goals and 3 assists as well, including his 400th career point in his 488th NHL game. That's pretty darn impressive.
Vasilevsky had a pretty good week too.
Yep.
He won 3 in a row, right? So
3 in a row. Put up a 941. He stopped 96 of 102 shots.
Yep.
And he earned his 200. Yeah, and he earned his 250th win in the 399th appearance. And as we said earlier in the show, he beat Boston.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, baby.
Which is always a thing. So would that be your player of the week, Rob?
No, I'm sticking with you boys. I think this is universal. It's Claude Giroux. 12th time in his career, he had multiple point games in 3 games straight. 49th career game-winning goal versus the Islanders. 65th career 3-point game versus the Habs. Just adding to the Hall of Fame resume.
Right.
Yeah, he's gonna be a Hall of Famer.
Thought that?
No question.
Right.
I think I said early.
Everybody
I think I
out
said
there
on one of
who
our
always thought
episodes,
Giroux was a
1,000
bum.
points.
Yeah. So, and like I said, anyone who ever thought Giroux was a bum, I think Giroux's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're always full of shit every time you said that. So, yeah.
You know what's interesting is that due to Maddie's delay, I heard both of your points at the same time simultaneously, and I think the audience did well, and you made both valid points. Damn.
Nice. And
I said,
it's
damn it.
synchronization.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
All right. So now on to a All-Star Weekend related one. Favorite skills event.
I can say it. The when they shoot and try to hit the dishes.
Yeah,
That's
torn.
my favorite one.
I'm torn. That's why I was holding off from answering I'm torn between the accuracy. Now I'm gonna go hard in honor of Bobby Hall. I'm going hardest shot. You gotta like waiting for that, that second for the radar gun to hit. That's exciting.
That's true. Okay, we can.
I'll be honest with you.
But I like the accuracy too, though. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, Maddie.
No. I got you. But I will say mine. I do love the shootout because I love when the players just do goofy shit. It's actually funny to watch them do goofy shit. You know what? I do like the players. At least they have personality to them. You know what I mean? They're having fun out there. It's like I like that personally. I do. Because the NBA has plenty of personalities. Why can't the NHL have personalities? Go show them the personality. That's what I'm trying. And positive ones, because unfortunately the NBA has a lot of toxic ones. But anyway.
Wasn't there one where the dude had his son hiding hiding out like behind his equipment, and he skated through him and took the puck, and his son scored? I think it was something like that. I'm getting it wrong a little bit, but I thought that was pretty good.
I don't remember that one, but I don't watch a lot. I don't watch a lot of these All-Star game stuff because it kind of. I think they go over the top sometimes, and it starts getting annoying after a while.
They can.
I did love the one shootout though, even though I may not have been a big fan of the player himself. I did love it when PK Subban decided to imitate Yager. I thought that was hilarious. Where he wore the giant wig that had the one white streak going through it. That was hilarious. He did that. And Yager was on the All-Star team too that year, so it was even funnier.
It's pretty funny.
It doesn't surprise me though. These guys can be hilarious when they want to be. Trust me.
Right. All right. So now we move on to our final part, and that is hot take of the week. So, gents, your hot take to close out this show.
Oh, I got one burning. I didn't get to give it last week, and it's just as true right now. I do not like the bye week for hockey. There's a reason why it's for football. I get it. They're trying to rest players, trying to prevent injuries, but this is a much more game of momentum. And the Flyers are off now for 8 days before facing the Islanders, speaking of which, at home on February 6th, a team you're chasing in the standings if you are indeed trying to make that second wild card spot. A normal all-star break is okay, but this is ridiculous. 8 days? Kidding me?
I hear you, Rob. We got to wait 10 days.
What?
Yeah, last game we played was Friday.
Wow,
against
that's
Vegas.
even more absurd.
Yeah, against Vegas, we're 6-2-2 in our last 10 games. We've been playing great hockey, and we've been playing against some of the top teams in the league. If you take a look at the Rangers' schedule, they played Dallas. They played at Dallas. They played at Toronto. They played Vegas. They've been playing good. They've been playing a lot of good teams the last couple of weeks. And they're doing real well against them. And now they wait 10 days, and then they have to come back, and that's just absurd.
100%.
I hate that too. I was going to complain about that as my hot take of the week too. So
agreed,
man.
man.
My hot
10 days.
Yeah.
Let's cool the team off completely.
That's too long. Yeah, I can agree. That's way too
Three or
long.
four
to have
three or four
teams
days
sitting
is
rest.
enough.
Right. And you're especially pissed when you're on you said 6-2
That-
and 2.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to stop playing right then. You want to keep
No,
on
they're on a
playing.
I mean, they've been on a tear for a while now. I mean,
Right.
the last
Same.
20 games, I think they're like 15-4
Right.
and I think they're like 15.
Same thing with the Flyers.
21 games.
Coming off a huge 4-0 win over
Same thing with
Winnipeg, you want
Flyers,
to keep
just
on
had that
playing,
shot.
right?
Right. Just had that shutout, and so Carter would have been feeling himself a little bit, and he'd be like, "Oh, good, we can get some really good goaltending out of him in the next few games, and maybe get some extra W's thrown in there, But oh well. But then again, I also wanted them to tank angry about it. Anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Ted did say
That
also
is true.
Voracek used Johnny on a shootout and scores on the goalie. But oh, by the way, his favorite competition from the NBA playoffs is the 3-point competition, which I've never actually watched, so I couldn't really tell you how that is. Anyway, so as for me, I'm going to say my hot take. I think that fans should only vote for the All-Star team, not anything to do with the NHL. Only fans. Only they should be voting for this. Period. Done and done. And that's for every league. Every
I
league.
like that.
Fan should be a
that.
vote. And that's it. And you want to know why else, too? Because since I am a ginger, I love chaos. I thrive on it. And what causes more chaos than watching sports fans, especially drunk sports fans, get angry about who deserves to be an all-star and who doesn't deserve to be an all-star? Because people try to say they don't give a shit about the all-star. Oh, yes, you don't. But you sure as shit give a shit about who's on the all-star team, don't you? Oh, yes, you do. Don't try to lie.
You may not watch the game, and you couldn't care less about the game, but damn if your player isn't playing in the game.
Sure, it's true.
Right.
I get it.
But Gary Bettman will never let this happen because they will refuse to allow another John Scott scenario again.
Right.
You're right.
After that happened.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. Right. And
awesome.
I loved how. Right. It was so fucking awesome because you don't want to know why? Because they even told John, hey, listen, could you not be an all-star? And John told them to go fuck themselves. That's what I thought was that. He said, like, no, I am an all-star because they said I was an all-star. Fuck you, Gary.
And you know what? He did score in the game, too.
Yes, he scored the winning goal, too, I think, for his team.
I think he may have had 2 goals, and they were talking about him being the player of the game. And you knew Gary was going to let that happen.
No.
He probably threatening firing people if that happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Whoever was in charge of the All-Stars.
Yeah. If he's the player of the game, then we're not giving him the car.
Oh my god. You gotta love it when commissioners in the leagues get petty. It's fucking hilarious to watch. I'm like, wow, that is some petty ass shit right there from the commissioner, and it happens at every.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, gents, that'll do it for this edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. We thank everybody for joining us once again on another thrill ride. If you are going to watch the All festivities or the Pro Bowl, and Don does probably summarize the Pro Bowl best, saying darts is better than the Pro Bowl. So...
Hey, darts is pretty good, man. I've been getting into watching darts, competitive darts, man. There's a lot of good betting there too. Anyway,
does that might be the little bit of an incentive for you to get into it, just a little bit?
Yeah, but you can throw. But you know what? You can throw the game though. That was
I see what you did there. I see what you did there, Brad. All right. So, once again, though, thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you are going to watch the All-Star festivities or the Pro Bowl, enjoy. And then, of course, next week, let me just check. Go back to the old calendar here and see if we have a game on the docket. We actually do not. The Flyers play on Monday next week. So, we will not have a game next week to react to for the Flyers.
I think
Doesn't mean we won't be
Carolina
reacting to
Hurricanes.
it. It just means that won't be the Flyers.
I think that we play
Big matchup for you guys.
I think the Canes, but I would have to check.
Still, though,
So
big matchup for you if that is the case.
Yeah, well.
Either way, though, everybody, we thank you for joining us. For everybody out there who chimed in on the fam, new or regular, thank you guys. You are the lifeblood of this entire show and of A2D completely. And we're 50% of the way through another regular season in the NHL. Well, my spirit is not completely crushed, but it was flattened, I think is the best way to say it. Got ran over by the bulldozer, but wasn't completely crushed in the end. So I guess that's a win. I guess. Anyway, we were Dr. Paul Vidal over at Specialized Physical Therapy. If you have any aches and pains, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. He'll take care of you. And he's got great teams in both Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey to get rid of those. So until then, till next week, we will see you guys. Take it easy. Stay safe. Stay healthy out there. And peace and love, everyone.